Like, listen, right? I don't like Stanley. I think the only person I had been was Stanley.
And Nate, Stanley doesn't state the obvious, like what the F. He's used talking points. Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
The nature of American culture, it's a white people problem. Okay. I literally said they need to understand
that people bother you like that. If they want to beef with you, it's called Stanley versus the world.
And just assume their character by stereotype?
I think people do that every day.
Okay, I didn't ask you. What do I think is okay?
Introducing North Carolina. You know, they say there's nothing finer. And for a fact, you'll have to travel far to match the ever-changing pictorial beauty of the old North State. Probably there's no place more beautiful to begin your acquaintance than here on the Blue Ridge Parkway, the sky-high avenue that winds along the crest of the Appalachian Range. For more than a century, travelers have visited this mountain country. 100 years ago, they came on horseback, in stagecoaches, and ox carts. Today's travelers enjoy the same scenic vistas, traveling in comfort and safety along America's most spectacular mountain boulevard. There are no trucks or buses on this highway, not even a telephone pole to mar the visitor's view. This young couple look happy. Why not? They're on vacation. And they've come to North Carolina because they've heard that here they will find all the things they want to do and see, all the way from mountaintops to ocean shore. You know, it's not every state that can boast of high ranges and a coastline ideal for swimming, boating, and fishing. What a wonderful way to settle that old question, which shall it be, the mountains or the sea? Pardon me just a moment, will you?
Why, sure.
This is your first visit to North Carolina, isn't it?
That's right. Don't know much about it, but it sure looks fine from here.
Yes, it does look fine. And we think it is fine. You say you don't know much about it, so here goes. Here's where you are, right on the top of the greatest mass of mountains in the eastern United States. East of the mountains lies the rolling country of the Piedmont. Beside fine farmlands, this section contains most of our big industries, powered by electricity developed from the state's abundant water supply. Eastward again are the coastal plains, one of the richest agricultural regions of the South. Rich in history, too, for it was here, nearly 3 centuries ago, that the first English colony in America was established. A scene very much like this greeted Sir Walter Raleigh's settlers when they first met North Carolina. On this exact spot lived that colony, only to disappear without a trace, leaving a mystery unsolved to this day. On Roanoke Island, during the summer months, a dramatization of that mystery is presented. It commemorates, too, the birthday of Virginia Dare, first child born of English parents in the New World.
I baptize thee, Virginia, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
Come, men, get your ale.
Although this first attempt at colonization was a failure, later settlers were successful. Not far from Roanoke Island, North Carolina's first permanent settlement was established. The town of Bath, which centers around this old church built in 1690. Throughout the state, landmarks in its history and progress are found. One of the most stately of these is Orton Mansion, established in 1725, symbolic of an era of colonial prosperity. This tower overlooks the campus of the University of North Carolina, first state university to open its doors in the United States. Dear to the hearts of all alumni is the Old Well, for 150 years a favored meeting place of undergraduates. You know, North Carolina seems to have a knack for staying in the headlines of history. On windswept Kill Devil Hill, this towering pylon marks the spot where the Wright brothers challenged the skies, making the first powered airplane flight. Proud of its past, it is small wonder that the capital city of North Carolina is named Raleigh, in memory of those first brave settlers on Roanoke Island. Confident of the future, the people of North Carolina have built many thriving cities. Charlotte, the Queen City, largest in the state and center of industry, trade, and transportation. Greensboro's strategic central location makes it an important distribution point. Tobacco capital of the world, Winston-Salem. Durham is another important tobacco and manufacturing center, and it's the home of Duke University, one of the most heavily endowed schools in the United States. These handsome Gothic buildings, set in a spacious campus, attract many visitors. The principal seaport is Wilmington, situated on the Cape Fear River and the inland waterway, with channel and harbor for ocean-going ships. In a setting of emerald forest and blue hills is the city of Asheville, high on a plateau between the Blue Ridges and the Great Smoky Mountains. Hub of an extensive resort area, it is the metropolis of western North Carolina. Among Asheville's many attractions is Biltmore House, a chateau that has been called the most beautiful home in America. Now open to visitors, Biltmore House contains a treasury of famous paintings and other well-known and historic works of art.
Say, that's all right. I'd like to see some of those places for myself.
And there's no reason why you shouldn't. But you'll see lots of other things in the state you might like to know something about. Take that cigarette you're smoking. You may not know it, but 7 out of every 10 American cigarettes come from this state. It begins here. Fields of green, growing tobacco, stretching from the Piedmont through the coastal plains. In late summer, scenes like this are on every hand. Farmers harvesting the state's most profitable cash crop, stripping the matured leaves from the stalks. At this busy season, the whole family and all the neighbors turn out to prepare the valuable crop for market. The leaves are made into hands. The hands are strung onto sticks, ready to be placed in the tobacco barns where the leaves will be cured by the heat from wood or oil fires. This curing gives the tobacco the characteristic golden color, which means market time, money in the bank, the necessities and the comforts of life for the whole farm family. In the town of Wilson, the traveler may visit the largest bright leaf tobacco market in all the world. He may even see and hear one of the famous auctioneers as he conducts a tobacco sale. And here's an auction in progress. Let's watch and listen. Long years of careful aging are still necessary before this tobacco will be ready for final processing. And then, in huge factories in Winston-Salem, Durham, and Reidsville, the long process which started in the fields culminates in the manufacture of best-known brands of cigarettes and smoking tobacco. This factory ships an entire trainload of cigarettes every day of the year. And brother, that's a lot of smoking. There's another interesting angle to this cigarette business. Most of the paper used in cigarette manufacture comes from this large modern plant. A nationwide search for water of unexcelled purity ended here on the banks of the sparkling Davidson River near Brevard. Domestic flax and pure water are essential items in the production of this super high quality paper. The big rolls are cut into little ones. Each of these small rolls contains enough paper for 85,000 cigarettes. Fishing is one of the more important occupations along the coast. Strangely enough, the most important catch is not primarily a food fish, but the fabulous menhaden. Always found in enormous schools, these fish seem to favor the North Carolina shore. As a result, an important marine industry has been developed based on the valuable oil extracted from the menhaden. Oil used in soaps, in paints, used as a lubricant, as a medicine, and as a sizing for textiles. Even the residue is valuable as a high-protein stock feed and for fertilizers. Well, I guess it's true most everywhere. Old and young alike go for goobers, or crisp, freshly roasted peanuts. North Carolina grows her own with a good share for the rest of the country. The loamy soil of the coastal plain is dotted with hundreds of fields. In early autumn, the tuber-laden vines are taken from the ground and stacked to dry. Later, harvesting equipment moves into the fields to separate the nuts from the dried vines. The vines are baled and become an important and highly nutritious addition to the diet of farm herds. Peanuts themselves are made into dozens of products and hundreds of byproducts. But the most familiar form is Old Man Peanut himself, roasted to a golden, tasty brown. Just peanuts, you say? Yes, but peanuts are big business in North Carolina. More North Carolinians earn their livelihood from the manufacture of textiles than from any other industrial endeavor. The state grows a lot of its own cotton and it's a good customer for its cotton-growing neighbors.
I'm going to stop this right here for a minute because it is longer than I thought it was. Welcome to Stanley versus the World. Sorry, I said I was going to start late, and I did, but all is well. Everybody, as you come in, please make sure you hit the like button. And if you're new, please subscribe. Check us out. If you don't like it, because it can get boring around here. I like to do news, politics, culture, and the occasional fuckery, but there's not generally a whole lot of that, at least during the week. And welcome aboard, Bobby. It is good to see you. So this is one of these old National Archive films. This one is specifically about North Carolina. Yesterday was Alabama, and hopefully I'll find one on Georgia next. But for me, these films are not only historical, but just kind of interesting, just to see how things were, back in the 50s and way back in days of yore. So let us continue.
The fleecy bolls are transformed into yarn, and the yarn is woven into colorful fabrics, eventually to appear on markets around the world. Here's another kind of weaving, one that might interest the ladies: the manufacture of nylon hose. This is uncolored nylon, awaiting only the magic of chemistry to produce the myriad shades to please any lady's fancy. Burlington is the hosiery capital of the South. There, and in many other cities, this most glamorous item in the feminine wardrobe is produced in millions of units. The traveler in North Carolina will see everywhere evidence of the state's chief natural resource. Over half of the state is forested, and these forests contain the largest reserve of hardwoods remaining in this country. Hundreds of thousands of acres of the best lands have been set aside as preserves, where scientific lumbering and reforestation assure a never-failing supply of this essential material. Mills like this consume a large part of the output of the forests for conversion into paper products of many kinds. Perhaps the paper on which your favorite magazine is printed came from this very factory. Besides paper and paper products, over 3,000 manufacturers, making everything from rayon to radio cabinets, depend on the forests of North Carolina for their raw material supply. Chief among these industries is the manufacture of finished wood products, centered at High Point and Lenore. This state leads all others in the fabrication of fine furniture. Here's an interesting operation. This multiple carver enables one operator to shape 24 identical pieces at one time. Wood from the hills, fabrics from the mills, plus the skilled craftsmanship of the old North State, combine to make furniture that is really fine. Furniture that one day may grace your living room. I guess that's enough education for a while. You've got a long way to go. You'd better get on with that vacation. All right, Mr. Traveler, what's your pleasure? Is it scenery you're after? Modern highways will take you past cascading streams and sparkling waterfalls, to azure lakes rimmed by high hills, to spectacular Chimney Rock with breathtaking views, to the very top of Mount Mitchell, highest point in the eastern mountain range, or up the rugged slopes of Old Grandfather himself, which geologists claim is the oldest mountain in the world. In spring and early summer, the hills burst into a symphony of color, with displays of rhododendron, of mountain laurel, of heather clinging to the rocky hillsides, and the flame azalea, found nowhere else on this continent. Everywhere you go, you'll find settings of incomparable beauty. In fact, nice settings for your own vacation photographs. And you don't have to go far west to enjoy dude ranching. Modern, mile-high resorts provide facilities, plain or fancy, for the Wild West fan. Most popular national park in America is in the Great Smoky Mountains. Readily accessible by automobile, it is threaded by marked and graded trails, leading the adventurous vacationist to points of interest denied to casual motorists. While you're visiting the park, don't be surprised if you meet a friendly bear or two. Interesting acquaintance, yes, but don't get too chummy. Mr. Bear's idea of a love pat is the human equivalent of a knockout punch. If meeting bears or footing it aren't your ideas of fun, you may prefer the comforts of one of the many modern resort hotels or lodges with sports and recreation right outside the door. Something more modest? Many visitors prefer a cozy mountain cabin. This one is near Fontana Dam, highest water barrier in the east. This huge structure creates only one of dozens of lakes, providing water sports and year-round fishing for vacationists. If you're a real traveler, you'll be interested in the folkways of the hardy people who populate this state. In the shadow of Old Grandfather, a yearly festival known as Singing on the Mountain brings spectators and contestants from all of the South Appalachian Range. Young and old alike turn out to hear the ancient ballads of the hills. Like the old songs, the old ways of doing things persist in many homes. The products of the modern textile industry of North Carolina mean little to this elderly lady. Like her mother and her grandmother, she cards and spins her own yarn to make garments for her family. Yes, strange as it seems, the people of North Carolina who have led the South in development of machine industries have maintained their pride in fine hand workmanship. The carving of beautiful and quaint figures from hardwoods is only one of the many handcraft skills. Old-fashioned drudgery, you say? Not at all. Within 100 miles of Asheville, more than 3,000 persons make all or part of their living from the creation of examples of fine handicraft, eagerly sought by travelers as treasured mementos of their visit, mementos ranging from the humorous to the sublime. Say, this is a pretty scene. Looks like one of our vacationing friends. And sure enough, it is. I guess she doesn't realize that outfit she's wearing would scare any respectable trout a mile downstream. Hey, what's this? Looks like she's hooked one. And she has. Well, it just goes to show you. North Carolina streams are kept so well stocked that even an amateur angler has a chance. The state even reserves one trout stream exclusively for women fishermen. Wonder where her husband is. Well, no sooner said than done. Hey, what's he up to anyway? Looks like a little campfire cookery in progress. Let's go over and see what gives. Trout on the fire. Beauties, too. And hot biscuits. Say, this lad is quite talented. Or, if picnicking is more in your line, why not pack a basket and visit one of the state parks or numerous recreational areas set aside for your pleasure? What that keen outdoor air does to the appetite is nobody's business but your own. An interesting novelty is this bridge, built across the highway for the exclusive use of horsemen. Hundreds of miles of bridle paths wind through the forested hills of western North Carolina. If you don't want a horse, borrow his shoes. You can still have fun. Besides mountain streams, the Bass Lakes are popular with inland fishermen. None more so than Lake Lure. In its alpine setting, where swimming, boating, and aquaplaning round out the vacationist package of pleasure. Let's leave the mountains for a while and drive down through the rolling Piedmont into the sand hills. Once an ancient sea covered this country and left behind it the characteristic dunes of golden sand, the dwelling place of the stately longleaf pine, of holly and dogwood. For reasons unexplained by science, the sandhills enjoy an unusually mild climate, crisp, cool nights, sunny, brilliant days. So it's no wonder that for half a century, this region has been a popular winter resort. And it's no wonder, too, that golfers flock to these resorts in such numbers, because even when it showers, the thirsty sand absorbs the water so quickly that in a matter of minutes, a foursome can resume play. Many of today's famous players won their first recognition in tournaments on these championship courses. Riding, fox hunting, tennis, and other outdoor sports can be enjoyed almost every day. The 300-mile coastline presents two distinct realms of exploration. The Outer Banks comprise a maritime wilderness, appealing strongly to the adventurous sportsman and to those who would leave the madding crowd behind. Rough trails lead to Hatteras and Ocracoke, graveyard of the Atlantic, where many a brave ship has met disaster. Coast Guardsmen stationed on this windswept bar have been awarded more Congressional Medals of Honor per capita than any other group. The little fishing village of Hatteras looks peaceful indeed, and it is peaceful. No police, no sheriff, and not even a jail. But the fishing, it's wonderful. In contrast to the isolation of the Outer Banks are the easily accessible beach resorts. Sun and sand and the tumbling surf make these popular playgrounds. There's fishing here, too. In the surf, if you like. Or or try your luck from a pier. But some sportsmen take to the open seas. And there in the indigo waters of the Gulf Stream await challenging amberjack, fighting dolphin, the vicious barracuda, Cero, sailfish, bonito, and the incomparable blue marlin. The growing legion of small craft sailormen find in North Carolina's sounds and rivers many hospitable waters for their graceful sport. If you like a little more speed, you might try this one on for size. Better practice up a while first, though. It's not as easy as it looks. If you're wondering how to get off these things, just watch. Simple, isn't it? Still more speed? Here it is, and plenty of it, on one of North Carolina's many broad rivers. Just as we saw in the mountains, there's plenty of scenery in other parts of North Carolina. In fact, the scenery along the beach is unusually pretty. And look who's taking in all this scenery. It's our friends again. They've done what they set out to do, and in one vacation, they've had a glorious week in the mountains and another week of sunshine and fun on the seashore. Wonder how they liked it. Tell me, have you enjoyed your Tar Heel vacation?
We sure have. And we really met North Carolina.
I'm glad you did. I knew you'd like it. Because for fun, in winter, summer, spring, or fall, North Carolina has them all.
Well, that was fun. North Carolina is pretty cool. So, again, welcome to the show, everybody. Make sure that you hit the like button. And if you're new, please subscribe and check it out. Don't be here if you don't want to be. Eventually, you'll figure it out. So, I'm going to talk mainly about last night's elections, just briefly. For some, it'll be fortunate. For others, it'll be boring. But I have the Supreme Court arguments over the Trump tariffs. I think it wound up being like 2 hours or so, the actual arguments. And I intend on listening to the whole thing. So, at risk, there is the risk of people getting bored and wandering off. Them's the breaks. But I think this is extremely important. It's basically a constitutional argument. And the Supreme Court, let's see what they do. So we'll talk briefly about the elections. Democrats dig in on shutdown after election wins. Yesterday, there was a story in the Washington Examiner, the conservative leaning newspaper, something about, hey, these elections might convince the Democrats to capitulate. And my response is, if they win Why would they capitulate? And they didn't just win. There were some borderline landslides in Virginia. That kind of surprised me. Even the attorney general who got in hot water over some old tweets, even he won. Over in so I don't know what to say. New Jersey, Virginia. In Virginia, they picked up 13 House seats. So it was a pretty decisive victory in a purple state. And I looked at a map. Every county in Virginia shifted Democrat. And over in the West, the Southwest, tends to be round about that Roanoke area. Liberty University is over there. That tends to be the most Republican part of the state. No, every county in Virginia shifted blue. And that in and of itself is amazing. New Jersey, damn near a landslide in their gubernatorial win. Mamdani, 50% of the vote in a three-way race. And Trump endorsed Cuomo. Of course, it was a little too late. The other interesting thing that I wasn't really aware of, Trump never endorsed the Republican candidate for Virginia governor, Winsome Earl Sears. He never even fucking endorsed her. I don't know what was up with that. If anything, she was pretty she was. Why he didn't endorse a Virginia Republican candidate, there's a lot that people are speculating about, but I will not do that here. But here's a quick summary, and then I got a couple other things. Vivek Ramaswamy's take on the race, etc.
Democrats dig in on shutdown after election wins. This article is by Katie Edmondson and Megan Monero and read by an automated voice. Democratic victories in key statewide elections on Tuesday have injected a jolt of energy into the party's resolve to continue the government shutdown fight, putting at least a temporary damper on bipartisan talks to end the crisis. Senate Democrats on Wednesday dug deeper into their demand that President Trump negotiate with them on health care subsidies in exchange for reopening the government, after Mr. Trump declared that the record-long federal closure had hurt his party in Tuesday's elections. In the days leading up to the balloting, some centrist Democrats had signaled that they were ready to strike a deal to end the standoff. Patience has worn thin across the political spectrum, with a shutdown that has furloughed hundreds of thousands of federal workers, sapped nutritional benefits for millions of Americans, and snarled air traffic. A clutch of Democratic moderates has been meeting privately with a handful of centrist Republicans, mostly to discuss spending legislation that would fund the government. But Mr. Trump's declaration on Wednesday at the White House that the shutdown had hurt Republicans appeared to have complicated efforts to find an off-ramp, at least for now. The shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans, Mr. Trump told Republican senators at a breakfast, adding, "We must get the government back open soon, and really immediately." Government Glenn Youngkin of Virginia, a Republican, echoed the president's assessment, telling reporters on Wednesday after Democrats swept his state that the shutdown posed a very, very big challenge as we ran into this election. The remarks appeared to have prompted new hope among Democrats that the president and GOP leaders would be willing to negotiate with them on a deal to extend expiring tax credits that help Americans afford Obamacare coverage. Democrats moved to expand them during the pandemic, but the subsidies are set to lapse at the end of the year, sending premiums soaring for millions of Americans. Extending them has been Democrats' chief condition for supporting a spending bill to fund the government. Senator Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York and the minority leader, read Mr. Trump's comments into the official congressional record on the Senate floor on Wednesday, saying, "The election results ought to send a much-needed bolt of lightning to Donald Trump that he should meet with us to end this crisis and his shutdown, which he admits hurt him badly in the election." Mr. Schumer and Representative Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat of New York and the minority leader, wrote to Mr. Trump on Wednesday demanding a meeting. The group of Senate Democrats who had been looking for a way out of the shutdown met again on Wednesday. Attendees described the talks as productive and said they would continue discussions, but wanted to see whether Mr. Trump would engage with their party. There are some changes in circumstance with regard to the president weighing in, and we're going to see how those shake out, Senator Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin said. Asked if the election results would change the strategy on tying healthcare demands to reopening the government, Ms. Baldwin said, "They only reinforce it. This was an election all about the high cost of things, very clearly. And it just increases the resolve that we need to bring costs down for our constituents." Senator Alyssa Stotkin of Michigan, another member of the group, said the president summoning Republicans to the White House to discuss the shutdown indicated the dynamics had shifted. Trump is the decider on this, so we need him and his head in the game. And from this morning's conversation, it looks like he's finally turning to this, she said. I hope we can meet with him as soon as possible and resolve this. Mr. Trump, however, has remained fixated on the idea that Senate Republicans should end the shutdown on their own by getting rid of the legislative filibuster to push through a funding bill. Currently, most bills need to secure 60 votes, necessitating bipartisan support, to advance in the Senate. Senate Republicans almost unanimously oppose the idea of abolishing the filibuster, and Senator John Thune of South Dakota, the majority leader, threw cold water on the demand immediately after returning from the White House.
Yeah, I'll stop it there. There's no reason to go farther. This is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem for Trump. Not a huge problem. Everyone will be over it by Christmas. But last week I said the largest federal workers union basically telling the Democrats, hey, bullshit, let's pass a clean bill and get this government back open because we need our paychecks. It has basically been checked or outright negated by this. This was not just a couple points and they eked out a win. You will hear that, this off-year election isn't particularly a mandate on Trump, but I beg to differ. And the reason I beg to differ is economics. The economy is way softer than Trump wants to admit. There are parts of the economy that are in recession already, and Trump has no answer. Cutting interest rates is not going to head off what's coming. The only thing that might is the Supreme Court just basically calling bullshit on his tariffs. We'll see how that ends. And again, we're going to be listening to the Supreme Court session from today specifically about the Trump tariffs and essentially him taking an emergency power when there's no emergency. So let's skip ahead to to the anti-Mamdani, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Well, it's official. We got our asses handed to us tonight. Republicans, we lost in New York City, we lost in New Jersey, we lost in Virginia. Democrats swept all three. In the case of New York City, it was actually a Democratic socialist that won by a pretty decisive margin. What's the lesson for us? I think there's at least two lessons we're going to have to take away from tonight. And we're going to. I'm going to make sure we do. The first is we have to lead the way in offering answers on the affordability challenge that so many Americans are facing. I heard in my home state, we have to bring down costs, bring down those electricity bills by producing more energy, bring down the cost of housing by building more homes, and by the way, also bringing down property taxes, bring down grocery prices, bring down healthcare costs. Ultimately, the way you fight inflation is stop printing and spending so much money at every level, federal government all the way to state and local. We're spending too much money as a government that drives inflation. That's number one. And lesson number two is that we don't want to practice identity politics. That's not us. It's not the way as Republicans. It's not the right way as conservatives. Leave that to the woke left. Race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, national.
I love it when these guys pretend like race and sex and culture are above or beneath their purview. MAGA does nothing but talk about how abused men are, white men in particular. They do nothing but whine about how white men are being discriminated against. And by the way, white men are being discriminated against by other white men. Blacks don't have systemic power to do any sort of discrimination. You can be prejudiced. It's a separate argument. Being racist against white people is not the same thing as racism against white people. Blacks and no other demographic has the power that the white male does. So if white males are being discriminated against, y'all need to blame the white males for discriminating against you.
National origin. That's the stuff of the woke left. Don't imitate them. Focus on merit.
Hey, Richard. My father has decided that he likes sourdough bread and homemade sourdough bread. So that's my mission. I don't generally make sourdough bread because it's too much work, but I have been tasked, and it's not hard to do. And of course, it'll be a labor of love, but I got to create the starter. You actually have to have starter like a sourdough starter to make actual good sourdough bread. And I have never actually made it because it's too much work, but I can do it. And what the hell? What the hell? What else do I have to do? So, yeah, and I think that's part of why he wants it. And why buy it at the grocery store when you got someone who can make it for you? So it'll be fun. So I just need to do the starter, which will probably take about I forget how long it takes to start a starter. But funny enough, there are sourdough starters that get passed down generation to generation. Like they're like family heirlooms. It's kind of fascinating. And because they're kind of living organisms, they can change, they can mutate, if you will. So it's kind of fascinating if you're into that kind of bread making. So it'll be something different. It'll be something new. No, we don't want to buy them, Con. You can buy them, but why do it when you got dough and water in your house? It's almost like home cooking. Every time you cook something, it's slightly different, even if it's only subtly. So nope, I will make a starter myself. And hell, I'm a chemistry major. It's just it's just a bunch of kitchen chemistry. So let's get back to our favorite Vivek.
That's who we are. Focus on actual tangible policy solutions that lift people up rather than the rabbit holes that some in the online fringes may fall into in focusing on genetic identity like the woke left. Don't do it. It's a trap. And the
Like
more we
the
fall
woke
into
left.
it, the more we're going to
So
actually
genetic identity just gets talked about on the woke left. Dude, get a motherfucking decent haircut, you weirdo.
to see results like tonight. On the flip side, on the positive side, if we offer solutions on affordability, if we leave the identity politics nonsense to the woke left instead of imitating them, we're going to be just fine. And I'm still confident we're going to do great things in Ohio and across the country in 2026.
No,
I'm
you're
looking
not.
forward to it. And every once in a while, it helps to be able to light a little fire under our feet to learn our lessons.
Yeah. Hey, that's not where you light a fire, dumbass. You don't light fires under your feet. Oh, here we go. Let me this is guaranteed to piss some motherfuckers off. And the the right type of Indian talking after the wrong type of Indian. Was it planned? Is it accidental?
Thank you, my friends. The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet, over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands.
He's got the whole world in his hands.
I wish Andrew Cuomo only the best in private life. But let tonight be the final time I utter his name as we turn the page on a politics that abandons the many and answers only to the few. New York, tonight you have delivered a mandate for change, a mandate for a new kind of politics.
I'm going to remind everybody that this man, I believe, won over 50% of the New York City vote in a three-way race. That is somewhat of a mandate. And I don't know about Staten Island, but I think he won all the other four boroughs. I think there are 5 boroughs in New York City. Oh, Kimmy's listening. She should let me know. But I want to remind everybody, and I'm sorry, my voice is a bit hoarse for some reason. Probably yelling at John Galt last night. The Democrats didn't just like eke out wins. It was decisive. In Virginia, a purple state, and a state that, especially in the Southwest, is very red in by county. Every county in Virginia shifted Democrat. They shifted left, even in the Southwest, even in Appalachia, he shifted left. So there are some problems that Donald Trump needs to deal with, and it's all going to come down to the economy. Carville has never been proven wrong. It is the economy, stupid, and grocery store prices are not under control. Yet Trump is demolishing the East Wing and wants to build a fucking grand ballroom. What is this dumbass thinking?
Politics. A mandate for a city we can afford. And a mandate for a government that delivers.
Yeah, you're right, Khan. That's my father's solution.
On January
I don't have a
1st,
sore throat though. It's kind of
sworn
fine, so
in
probably
as the
now's
mayor
the
of
time
New
to
York
do the
City.
warm salted water.
And that is because of you. So before I say anything else, I must say this. Thank you. Thank you to the next generation of New Yorkers who refuse to accept that the promise of a better future was a relic of the past. You showed that when politics speaks to you without condescension, we can usher in a new era of leadership. We will fight for you because we are you. Or as we say on Steinway, ana minkum wa ilaykum. Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties. Yes, aunties. To every New Yorker in Kensington and Midwood and Hunts Point, know this. This city is your city, and this democracy is yours too. This campaign is about people like Wesley, an $11.99 organizer I met outside of Elmhurst Hospital on Thursday night. A New Yorker who lives elsewhere, who commutes 2 hours each way from Pennsylvania because rent is too expensive in this city. It's about people like the woman I met on the BX 33 years ago, who said to me, I used to love New York, but now it's just where I live. And it's about people like Richard, the taxi driver I went on a 15-day hunger strike with outside of City Hall, who still has to drive his cab 7 days a week. My brother, we are in City Hall now. This victory is for all of them, and it's for all of you. The more than 100,000 volunteers who built this campaign into an unstoppable force. Because of you, we will make this city one that working people can love and live in again. With every door knocked, every petition signature earned, and every hard-earned conversation, you eroded the cynicism that has come to define our politics. Now I know that I have asked for much from you over this last year. Time and again, you have answered my calls. But I have one final request. New York City, breathe this moment in. We have held our breath for longer than we know. We have held it in anticipation of defeat. Held it because the air has been knocked out of our lungs too many times to count. Held it because we cannot afford to exhale. Thanks to all of those who sacrificed so much, we are breathing in the air of a city that has been reborn. To my campaign team, who believed when no one else did, and who took an electoral project and turned it into so much more, I will never be able to express the depth of my gratitude. You can sleep now. To my parents, Mama and Baba, you have made me into the man I am today. I am so proud to be your son. And to my incredible wife, Rama, Hayati, there is no one I would rather have by my side in this moment and in every moment. To every New Yorker, whether you voted for me, for one of my opponents, or felt too disappointed by politics to vote at all, thank you for the opportunity to prove myself worthy of your trust. I will wake each morning with a singular purpose: to make this city better for you than it was the day before. There are many who thought this day would never come, who feared that we would be condemned only to a future of less, with every election consigning us simply to more of the same. And there are others who see politics today as too cruel for the flame of hope to still burn. New York, we have answered those fears. Tonight, we have spoken in a clear voice. Hope is alive. Hope is a decision that tens of thousands of New Yorkers made day after day, volunteer shift after volunteer shift, despite attack ad after attack ad. More than 1 million of us stood in our churches, in gymnasiums, in community centers, as we filled in the ledger of democracy. And while we cast our ballots alone, we chose hope together. Hope over tyranny. Hope over big money and small ideas. Hope over despair. We won because New Yorkers allowed themselves to hope that the impossible could be made possible. And we won because we insisted that no longer would politics be something that is done to us. Now it is something that we do. Standing before you, I think of the words of Jawaharlal Nehru. A moment comes but rarely in history when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends and when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. Tonight we have stepped out from the old into the new. So let us speak now with clarity and conviction that cannot be misunderstood about what this new age will deliver and for whom. This will be an age where New Yorkers expect from their leaders a bold vision of what we will achieve, rather than a list of excuses for what we are too timid to attempt. Central to that vision will be the most ambitious agenda to tackle the cost of living crisis that this city has seen since the days of Fiorella LaGuardia. An agenda that will freeze the rents for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants. Make buses fast and free. And deliver universal child care across our city. Years from now, may our only regret be that this day took so long to come. This new age will be one of relentless improvement. We will hire thousands more teachers. We will cut waste from a bloated bureaucracy. We will work tirelessly to make lights shine again in the hallways of NYCHA developments where they have long flickered. Safety and justice will go hand in hand as we work with police officers to reduce crime and create a department of community safety that tackles the mental health crisis and homelessness crises head on. Excellence will become the expectation across government, not the exception. In this new age we make for ourselves, we will refuse to allow those who traffic in division and hate to pit us against one another. In this moment of political darkness, New York will be the light. Here, we believe in standing up for those we love. Whether you are an immigrant, a member of the trans community, one of the many black women that Donald Trump has fired from a federal job, a single mom still waiting for the cost of groceries to go down, or anyone else with their back against the wall, your struggle is ours too. And we will build a city hall that stands steadfast alongside Jewish New Yorkers and does not waver in the fight against the scourge of anti-Semitism. Where the more than 1 million Muslims know that they belong. Not just in the 5 boroughs of this city, but in the halls of power. No more will New York be a city where you can traffic in Islamophobia and win an election. This new age will be defined by a competence and a compassion that have too long been placed at odds with one another. We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about. For years, those in City Hall have only helped those who can help them. But on January 1st, we will usher in a city government that helps everyone. Now, I know that many have heard our message only through the prism of misinformation. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent to redefine reality and to convince our neighbors that this new age is something that should frighten them. As has so often occurred, the billionaire class has sought to convince those making $30 an hour that their enemies are those earning $20 an hour. They want the people to fight amongst ourselves so that we remain distracted from the work of remaking a long, broken system.
That is literally the truth.
We refuse to let them dictate the rules of the game anymore. They can play by the same rules as the rest of us. Together, we will usher in a generation of change. And if we embrace this brave new course, rather than fleeing from it, we can respond to oligarchy and authoritarianism with the strength it fears, not the appeasement it craves. After all, if anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one.
Ooh.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Oh, this is awesome. I love it. I love it. See, yeah, this motherfucker, he is fearless. What the fuck is Donald Trump gonna do? I love it. This is what we need in the anti-Trump, anti-MAGA way of doing things. Motherfucker, bring it on. It's how I run my goddamn panels. Ryan, you're talking shit out there. I see you. Bring it on. Dude, let me, you know what? Before we get to the Supreme Court, and I got a couple other things, I'm gonna have to play you some of the hijinks from last night. Motherfucker, John Galt and his crew, dude, those guys are fucking just, dude. So, what does the ghetto do to a motherfucker? Dude, the ghetto done fucked John Galt and JP and Solid Snake. Their butt before the grace of God go up. Those motherfuckers are bitter. So bring it on.
We will hold bad landlords to account because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants. We will put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks. We will stand alongside unions and expand labor protections because we know, just as Donald Trump does, that when working people have ironclad rights, the bosses who seek to extort them become very small indeed. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us. When we enter City Hall in 58 days, expectations will be high. We will meet them. A great New Yorker once said that while you campaign in poetry, you govern in prose. If that must be true, let the prose we write still rhyme, and let us build a shining city for all. And we must chart a new path, as bold as the one we have already traveled. After all, the conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this.
Boom. Boom. Hey, Ryan. Ryan, you expect him to apologize to you, don't you?
Has held us back. We have bowed at the altar of caution. And
Hey,
we
Kelvin, notice he didn't say communist.
Too many working people cannot recognize
And it
themselves in
said
our
you
party.
as a PhD
And
in
too many
economics,
among us
you don't
have
know the
turned to
difference
right
between a
for answers
socialist
to why
and a
they've been left
communist?
behind.
Dude, what are they teaching
will
y'all
leave
at that
mediocrity in our
fucking
past.
in that fucking kindergarten
No
you got your
longer will we
PhD
have
from?
to open a history book for proof that Democrats can dare to be great.
No, she's not banned here since 7.
Our greatness
let me
will be anything but abstract.
Sin, after last night, I wanted to ban a bunch of motherfuckers. The only one who's banned here is Palomino 1. It's one of Palomino Ricky Z's alter egos. No one is banned in the chat nor on the on StreamYard currently. So why do you think Republic Tea Room is banned? She would actually be one of the last people I ban. I actually like her.
It will be felt by every
Crazy as she
stabilized
sounds.
tenant who wakes up on the 1st of every month, knowing the amount they're going to pay hasn't soared since the month before. It will be felt by each grandparent who can afford to stay in the home they have worked for.
Hey, Kimmy, good to see you.
And whose grandchildren live
Let me
nearby
stop this
because
right
the cost of
Hey, Kim, this organization that you hipped me to yesterday, I went ahead and signed up just so I'm on their mailing list. So I'll be keeping up with them. I don't know that I agree, other than DSA tends to be class essentialist. And there's some actual like black intellectuals who are socialists who have problems with DSA proper. But I don't really, I kind of know about them, but not that much. But I'm on this group's mailing list. So I will keep you up to date with the with the updates.
Of childcare didn't send them to Long Island. It will be felt by the single mother who is safe on her commute and whose bus runs fast enough that she doesn't have to rush school drop-off to make it to work on time. And it will be felt when New Yorkers open their newspapers in the morning and read headlines of success, not scandal. Most of all, it will be felt by each New Yorker when the city they love finally loves them back. Together, New York, we're going to freeze the... Together, New York, we're going to make buses fast and... Together, New York, we're going to deliver universal... Let the words we've spoken together, the dreams we've dreamt together, become the agenda we deliver together. New York, this power, it's yours. This city belongs to you. Thank you.
All right. Well, this next video, I'm doing this next video just to make sure I agitate some people in this audience.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? How's everyone doing? Figured I'd hop on live, check in with everyone, see how y'all are doing. I was filming something earlier today, so I was on a set, and I figured you can't waste a good beat, right? Like, you know? Anyways, so we're hopping on live, and we're going to chat a little bit. Hey, everybody. Lots of things to talk about. I'd love to chat with you, talk to y'all, provide some updates, give some perspectives on things, see what's going on. Tomorrow is election day. Tomorrow is a very important election day. So we're going to talk about that. We can talk about the shutdown. We can talk about Snap. We can talk about pop culture, whatever it is you want to talk about. But just wanted to take an opportunity to connect with you all. Of course, tomorrow is election day across the country. Here in New York City, we've got Zohran Mamdani on the ballot. If you live in New York City and you have not voted yet, please make your vote plan for tomorrow. Set your alarm early. Go before work. That is my number one recommendation, because you always think you're going to go after work, but especially in New York, things happen. You want to hang out with friends. Just free up your day and vote. I know it's kind of a pain in the neck to get up early. But if you can, vote before you go to work.
She's making me want to be young
vote
again.
Tomorrow in New York City, vote for Zohran, of course. Also in California, Prop 50. If you're a Californian, you may have been seeing me on your television screens asking you to vote for Prop 50. Make sure you do that, because
I think she is just taunting y'all. This is awesome. She's just fucking. She's taunting the shit out of MAGA.
Gerrymandering
This is
across the
awesome.
country. So, approving Prop 50 in California helps balance the scale against all of the attacks on communities across the country. So, vote yes on Prop 50 in California. Virginia, you have a gubernatorial race with Abigail Spanberger. Make sure you cast your vote for her tomorrow if you haven't yet. New Jersey, you've got Mikey Sherrill on the ballot. You know what to do. Make sure that you make a plan, get out the vote, turn that out. Happy to take any questions. Amanda said yes to this makeup. I said at the top, I can't take credit for it. I was on a set earlier today, but I was a Queens girl. Shout out to Jocelyn, who did my makeup.
Do you see the hand signals?
Let's see what else we got.
Dude, this is trolling like a motherfucker. AOC is actually pretty masterful at this sort of stuff. So anyway, let's watch a little bit more of this while I find the next video.
Going on. Can SNAP still run with Trump reinstating only half the funding? I mean, it seems like what the latest update that we're getting is that the Trump administration appears to be restoring half of SNAP benefits up until now, which is more than zero, but still far short of what people need to eat and to fill their needs. It's really fascinating and interesting, this conversation around SNAP. And I think it's important when we talk about SNAP, we have to remember what the terrain of this conversation is. People want to make being on SNAP, being on WIC, requiring food assistance to be about shame. They want it to be about individual failure. Like, what are you doing wrong that you rely on food assistance or need food assistance? When the conversation should really be about, why do we live in a country that allows corporations to pay people so little that they essentially are subsidizing their own payrolls with SNAP, WIC, EBT, etc. That's what corporations like Walmart do. Huge parts of their business models are based around SNAP, WIC, EBT in multiple forms. And so there's so much conversation that's going on. It's also,
the weird thing is Walmart would never let you actually know this, but spending a whole bunch of or collecting a whole bunch of EBT money is corporate welfare. So these idiots, like say a Orion, they either don't know the whole story or they don't understand, how the money works, how EBT works. And it's kind of sad. but they should read more books, even if it has to be boring books about economics. So we're going to shift gears a little bit towards Trump's tariffs. And as I said earlier, we are going to wind up hearing the 2.5 hours or so of the Supreme Court hearing or session on the legality or the constitutionality of Trump's tariff fake news emergency.
Is on to a major test of presidential power. Tomorrow, the Supreme Court will consider
What's
President
up?
Trump and his sweeping global tariffs when the justices hear arguments
JB.
in a case brought against the U.S. president by a toy maker. That toy maker, Rick Woldenberg,
Oh, that's
CEO
pretty
of Learning
funny.
Resources, a company that sells learning-based toys.
Hey,
joins
food
us now.
stamps
Rick,
are
it's
kind
good
of
to
like
have you
the
on
law of the
program.
jungle, the currency of the
Could you
jungle.
ever have imagined that you'd be in a courtroom where a seminal decision is being made by the highest court in the land and you're kind of at the center of it? What's this been like for you?
An amazing personal experience. When we sued in April, the goal was to get to the Supreme Court, and I think since then the case has just grown and grown, and the significance has spanned unbelievable lengths. There's a great reach for the decision tomorrow.
There's no doubt about the reach. There's no doubt about the importance. I will say, to state the obvious, suing the President of the United States is no small undertaking. So I wonder if you even hesitated. What does this case mean for you and other business owners that you were willing to make this leap?
Well, they say you should never sue someone that prints their own money, but the size of the problem and the size of the implications meant that we had to take action to defend ourselves. I think that the case is actually pretty simple. We got hit with an asphyxiating tax. The government brags that it's $50 billion a month in proceeds. That's just not bearable, and they've also promised that this is permanent. So we either choose to pay a tax that we believe is unlawful, or we challenge it and ask the court to review it and decide.
Well, tariffs came up a lot, at least 52 times in President Trump's recent 60 Minutes interview. I want to play just a little bit of what he said.
You know, tariffs are incredible because they really give us great national security. Tariffs give us national security and great wealth.
Finish that sentence. You said if they take away my power to do tariffs, what?
It would be a very sad day for the United States of America. These tariffs ultimately are so good that at some point, when they're used properly, and I use them more properly than anybody's ever even dreamt.
These tariffs are so good that the Supreme Court's gonna tell us they're good. Dumb fuck. Y'all have motherfucking elected a goddamn moron to run this country. And y'all, I don't get last year at this time, especially after the election, I was getting all kinds of grief. Oh, Stanley's so sad. Yeah, I was a little bereft in that I knew what the fuck was coming. And here we are a year later. And I said that I would reserve the right to say, I told you so. But I'm not going to do it just yet. I'm going to reserve the privilege because I know after motherfucking Christmas, oh boy, I'm going to have a whole party. It's going to be called an I Told You So party. And by the way, if you look at the bottom here, Supreme Court to hear toy makers tariffs case tomorrow. Motherfucker, you're looking at the fucking Grinch who stole Christmas. Fucking Trump is gonna steal Christmas this year. There will be no EBT turkey. There will be no EBT green bean casserole. motherfuckers are gonna starve. They're gonna be hungry children at Thanksgiving, and there will be no Christmas dinner due to Trump, the Grinch who stole Christmas. We thought the Grinch was green. Oh, that motherfucker's orange.
Impossible. Think of it. We become rich.
Have these tariffs been so good for your business?
Oh, definitely not. Our expense on IEEPA tariffs in
You're a mean one.
Our expected
President
cash
Trump.
expense this year will be $14 million, and I expect next year $14 million, and I expect that the costs next year will double or more. But of course, who knows what the rates will settle down at? We're behaving the way someone would behave if they had a sudden and irreversible expense of $14 million.
Mr. Trump.
We're hiring fewer people, we're spending less money on CapEx, we're developing fewer products, we're reducing our marketing spend. It's bad for business because it's diverting us from exercising our business judgment, which is how we got this far and what we want to do going forward. I think that the math that the administration is showing is a one-sided equation. They don't really care to think about the costs. They contend that there are advantages that I think are principally negotiating advantages. But many of the problems that they say they've solved were problems that are a result of high tariffs. So I think the tariffs are unlawful, and I look forward to the tariffs being removed.
And we only have like 30 seconds left, but I know this is a family business. Your mom started it while you were in law school. Are you nervous? What would it mean to you if it is reversed?
It would mean a lot. You know, I'm excited and I'm honored to have the privilege to stand with James Madison to defend our form of government and the rule of law. I'm not frightened or intimidated by tomorrow. I'm excited. This is just an honor. I look forward to our day in court.
Rick Woldenberg, and we will be looking forward to it as well. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, we will. But before we go there, folks, we got to review the lyrics. Let me clear my voice here. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. Welcome to motherfucking Trump's America in 2025. Your kids, you remember Trump saying, well, instead of 30 dolls, your kids are gonna have 2 dolls. Well, motherfucker, y'all are gonna have to sell those dolls for fucking food money. Your heart's an empty hole. Your brain is full of spiders. You're a monster, Mr. Grinch. This is fucking hilarious. What are y'all gonna do without Christmas? I'm waiting to find out. And Ryan, hit the goddamn link. I want you to explain the Christmas. There will be no Christmas. Y'all are gonna have to boil the fucking needles on that fresh Christmas tree you usually buy every year. Y'all are gonna motherfucking be eating pine needle soup for Christmas. So here we go. This is a news conference about the Trump tariffs that the Democrats did earlier today. And we're not going to play all of it because it is longish, but I want to make sure I rub it in. You're a mean one, Mr. Trump. Hey, DiCaprio, they're gonna be eating Tiny Tim for Christmas dinner. He will have starved to death from Thanksgiving.
So, good morning, everyone. Last night, the voters across America rejected President Trump's illegal and destructive economic policies. Today, we are here to call upon the Supreme
Ebenezer
Court
Trump.
to do the same. This case will affect every American and the 36 million small businesses in our country. This case is not enemies of the state versus Trump. It is small businesses versus Trump. It is Main Street versus Mar-a-Lago. And it is mom and pop
Main Street versus
Trump's
Mar-a-Lago.
billionaire
Ooh,
buddies.
somebody's got a
That
speechwriter.
is what is going to be heard before the Supreme Court of the United States today. Small businesses are the ones leading the charge to overturn Trump's illegal tariffs. Small business owners will not allow Trump to destroy all that they have worked for. When it comes to trade, small businesses make up 97%
What's up, LA?
of all importers and exporters in our country. And it accounts for 1/3 of all American trade. Small businesses like those standing behind me today are not big companies. They cannot buy a year or two of inventory for.
By the way, before we get too far into this, Ryan, I don't know if you're time delayed. Maybe you're catching up to where the program is. We have moved on to The Grinch Called Trump. Okay, Mom Donnie is not the biggest problem in the United States right now. It is Trump and this government shutdown. So fucking shift gears and catch up, son.
Hey,
And
Stanley,
join
did
with
you see
me.
my
Join
interview
with
last
me.
night?
I'm not done. Why are you interrupting me? I need Ryan to come up to this panel and join me in the MAGA Christmas Carol. You're a mean one, Mr. Trump. Da 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 da. I need you to come up. We're gonna have to practice this for our Christmas show, Ryan. Hit the link, son. Yes, JB. What you got?
Did you see my interview I did last night?
I did not.
Oh, you gotta check it out, bud.
I will do it
got
after
into
the show.
detail about
I
my
will.
life.
About what?
I went into detail about my life story.
Well, good for you. Was it like cathartic for you?
Yeah. More
Well,
like
good.
therapeutic.
Well, we will. Well, it's kind of the same thing sometimes. We might get to it
Yeah.
later on after the Supreme Court stuff. So
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
get back. Let's get back to the Democrats whining
Yeah.
about the Trump who stole Christmas.
A rainy day. Small businesses work week to week, month to month. They struggle to survive. And this threat that is being posed by the Trump tariffs on small businesses is an existential threat to their ability to survive.
Yeah, it was a lot
Because
of
small
insight on my
businesses
interview, Stan.
have no Mar-a-Lago memberships, no golden gifts for President Trump,
talk
no
good
East
about you
Wing
too, Stan.
ballroom invitations. Small businesses don't get the generous exemptions that billionaire CEOs seem to get.
You know what?
My Senate
Let's
colleagues and
do
I-
this. How about because there's actually a lot of stuff around your interview, Galt's interview, and some of the stuff that I clipped from last night. about let's do a Saturday show and you can co-host it?
That'd be wonderful.
Okay, then let's plan on doing Saturday. Today's Wednesday.
I
We
can't-
can
I
talk
can't
about
catch
it, not necessarily today, but let's make a Saturday of it.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Well then,
But I'll be
I
quiet.
will be. I will plan on you being. We can talk about when we start it. Probably around 11 to 1 o'clock, somewhere in that window. But I will need you to help me co-host it.
All right. Okay.
Okay. We
I'm gonna
will
be quiet, though.
that. Well, I don't care, but that is a plan.
Why
That
you
way
mad at me?
we can actually make the most of it.
We can do it now, Stanley.
No,
You
I
feel like
have
you
plans.
got something on your chest. Did I
No,
say something wrong?
I do. No, what? Wait, hold it. You just helped me come up with a plan that will hurt John Gall.
I did.
I am far from mad. I'm gleeful.
Stanley, you like how I did that, though?
What's that?
You seen how I got him talking?
I didn't watch the interview.
Oh, you gotta watch it, man. I gave it big.
We
up
will
for you,
do
man.
that on, dude. Not only are we going to watch it on Saturday, we are going to dissect it. We are going to have a good old time.
Yeah,
you
I'm gonna
bring
be
your
right
moon,
up there.
you bring your moonshine. I'm going to bring the beer, and everyone for this great upcoming Saturday show. Let's all just have a party.
You heard it here, folks.
Oh shit. We will advertise it tomorrow and Friday. It's gonna be a motherfucking hootenanny.
Yeah,
So-
because then
so
it's a lot
plan
of
on it,
stuff I
folks.
gotta get off my chest too.
Oh, good. Saturday will be the day.
Cause I'm a goat, man.
Have been working to end Trump's reign of tariff terror. But Republicans have blocked sensible policies led by those members who are here today, who have been fighting on the Senate floor in order to expose the injustices of Trump's tariff policies as they impact small businesses. These are reckless tariffs. They're allowing Trump to tax any good from any country for any reason, as long as he calls it an emergency. But Trump doesn't have the legal authority to call
Trying to be
this
funny,
an
Stanley.
emergency. Trump claims to have authority under the
I'm sorry, what?
International
Trying to be
Emergency
funny
Economic
with that
Powers
little,
Act,
with that little
a law
answer sound.
signed by Jimmy Carter.
Not really.
This law was
Yeah.
so uncontroversial that it passed by a voice vote in 1977.
Am I wrong? They don't have goats in the
I
DR?
guarantee all of you here
You trying
today
to take a shot at
that
me, Stan,
Republicans
and I ain't going
in
for it.
Congress in
Really?
1977
Are you from the
I'm just
Dominican
digging you up
Republic?
last night.
decide
That's
Oh,
why I'm
hold
telling
on
you
now.
to
You
check out the interview.
you sound all hurt and shit. Are you from the
I ain't
Dominican
hurt. I'm just
Republic?
trying to tell you to check out that interview.
Okay,
You're gonna enjoy it.
son, you know how it works on my panel.
What you
Are
call
you
me?
from the Dominican Republic?
Do it sound like I'm from the Dominican Republic?
In a way, it does.
Well, I'm not, Stanley. I'm sorry.
Have
to
you
bust your
ever
bubble.
heard someone from the DR trying to let me put it to you this way. When I was in college, I had a Puerto Rican girlfriend, and she had a brother who was a bit of a comedian, and they used to imitate country Puerto Rican accents, and then
Yeah.
they would translate
Okay.
them
What the
into
fuck they got to
English.
do with me,
Hey,
Stanley?
whoa, hold on, let me finish. Country Caribbean Spanish accents translated into American country accents sounded a lot like yours.
Well, what the fuck they got to do with me, Stan?
Okay,
I'm American,
motherfucker,
boy.
I literally you got
Motherfucker, I'm
offended.
American.
You got offended when I made a goat joke about the
I'm the
Dominican
goat
Republic.
here, not you,
Do
bud.
you know? Do you know what the Dominican Republic is? Are you
Never
from there?
been to it, never heard of
Well,
it
then,
before.
motherfucker, I think you are from there. How about that?
Well, it
You were
does really
you were
matter if you
raised
think.
as a goat herder up in the hills.
Well, if that's how you feel, bud.
Hey, I'm just making a joke. I don't feel anyway.
All right,
Stop being a thin-skinned motherfucker.
No, my
It's
skin thick and
it is
motherfucker,
literally, son, it is boring. Learn how to take a joke.
Don't make fun of the goat, Stanley.
Cry after you
I
mute.
don't do
please.
no motherfucking crying, man. I'm a
Mute,
man. That's the only way it's gonna be.
mute before you shed those white girl tears.
Jimmy Carter.
I'm a man, and that's the only way it's gonna be, Stanley.
Are you a man? Are you a man or are you an hombre?
Last time I
did
looked in my
not
pants, I was a
happen.
man.
But that's what Trump's lawyers
Do you
will be
often look
arguing
down there to
in the
reassure
court
yourself?
today. President
That
Trump is
motherfucker be
taxing
heavy
food and
down there,
clothing and
Stanley.
toys and even tea. And as a tea shop owner reminded us, the last time there was a tax on tea, there was a revolution in Boston.
In that,
one is
oh wait,
growing
by the way,
right now, and we saw the
that tea shop owner was Chaotic Truth Live. He has talked often about his roots. His family were proud tea shop owners for centuries.
first indications of it last night at the polling places all across our country. If Trump's tariffs continue, they'll cost small businesses more than $200 billion every single year. And to date,
I did
Trump
an
has
interview
collected
last
nearly
night and one
$108
not too long
billion
ago,
from
Stan.
American businesses using his emergency powers. And for what? To pay for tax breaks for the wealthiest corporations and individuals in America. This is Robin Hood in reverse. Trump's tariffs are illegal, they are unconstitutional, and economic craziness. Small businesses want their money back. That is what's going to be heard in the Supreme Court today. And as we will hear today from small businesses across the country, they are facing tens of thousands of dollars in Trump tariff taxes. And today's stories will show the world what Main Street already knows. It is not other countries that are paying these taxes, paying these tariffs. It's America's small business owners. So I call on the Supreme Court of the United States to do what is legally, morally, and economically right. Stand with small businesses, rein in President Trump's king-like power, and stop him from turning Main Street into Pain Street all across this country for small business owners and their workers. So we thank all of you for joining us here today. And now let me turn and recognize the ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee, a great leader, Ron Wyden.
Okay, so we're going to listen to this, then we'll move on to the main festivities.
Are sending too many
No,
small
we're not doing that
businesses
tonight. I
to
said
an
Saturday.
early grave.
Oh,
And
I don't
they
understand.
are Trump's fault.
Saturday? You know what day that is,
Congress's
right?
Responsibility.
I just know it's a
And
day
what
coming
we're
up.
saying today, the senators here, is we're stepping up. We're going to be there to make sure that we get a fair shake in the legal process. We get a fair shake in Congress. And if the House of Representatives, after what we did, which was to pass legislation to send these global tariffs to this early grave, if the House of Representatives doesn't come back immediately and take advantage of the opportunity to end some of Trump's worst tariffs, voters can send the same message they sent last night because they are not listening.
Man, he's got a list
have
just
been
like
out
Hood Conservative.
across our
You think
state
that's Hood
listening.
Conservative?
And all kinds of small businesses in Oregon are saying this unpredictable
I swear,
tariff
this is
free
Hood
is too
Conservative.
much for them to handle. A small manufacturer in Southern Oregon told my office that the global tariffs are so unpredictable and sudden. Have you all seen that? I can't
Okay.
hear you.
Uh, That's all the motherfucking Hood Conservative
So
I
we
can
gonna play
take
my
for the day.
interview now?
No, Saturday.
How many more days is there?
Well, I don't know. Do you need me to bring up a calendar for you?
That'll be nice.
Well, you know what? Let's bring up a calendar for JB. Let's see here.
And I want to count them too.
Calendar?
I want to count them. When you pull it up, I want to count the days until Saturday.
No doubt you will need to.
Yeah, that way I can write it down on the piece of paper and scratch it off every day.
Yeah, well, let me put it to you this way though. My patience is wearing thin, so we should always bear that in mind.
But why you mad at me?
Though? Okay, I don't give a fuck. I'm not mad yet. I'm just letting you know where we're going. See that blue circle thing there?
Yeah, now let me count. 1, 2, 3. What is that, Friday?
Well, how many days till it says Saturday? And it's abbreviated SAT.
3.
Okay, good. So now that we know you can count,
it was hard too.
You know what? Did you look at your pants and go, it's hard too? Let's separate.
Now, why you worried about my dick, Stanley?
Did you mean it was hard counting to the 3 days to Saturday, or are you confirming your manhood?
No, you asking me about my dick is gay.
You saying it was hard was pause.
God,
you need to motherfucking learn how to navigate the English language without being creepy on my goddamn panel.
You don't want to ask me about my dick, Stanley.
Hey, it's a one-way conversation. I don't need your response. I do not need your response.
Well, you asked me about my dick.
Okay,
I'm gonna speak on my dick.
Did I ask you? Did I really ask you?
You spoke on my dick, Stanley.
No, you spoke on your dick.
No, you asked me was my dick.
You motherfucking degenerate. Don't ever do that on my panel again.
You asked me that, Stanley.
Okay,
That's
no.
strange.
You volunteered the shit, and I'm gonna drop your ass if you keep being a pervert.
Democrat. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. I love watching C-SPAN, and I just have to say I love listening to the Republicans because each and every one of them is a parrot for what Donald.
And sorry, Jim, we're going to have to end it right here on today's Washington Journal because the Supreme Court is getting underway, and we'll take you there right now. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Has created a public health crisis, taking hundreds of thousands of American lives. President Trump has declared that these emergencies are country-killing and not sustainable, that they threaten the bedrock of our national and economic security, and that fixing them will make America a strong, financially viable, and respected country again. Due to IEEPA tariffs, President Trump has negotiated agreements worth trillions of dollars with major trading partners, including most recently China. Unwinding those agreements, he warns, would expose us to ruthless trade retaliation by far more aggressive countries and drive America from strength to failure with ruinous economic and national security consequences. In Dames and Moore against Regan, this court held that IEEPA's sweeping and unqualified language grants the president's actions the strongest presumption of validity and the widest latitude of judicial interpretation. Yet plaintiffs argue that tariffs, IEEPA's least blunt and most nimble tool, are virtually the only tool that Congress did not grant the president to deal with foreign emergencies. That is wrong. The phrase regulated importation plainly embraces tariffs, which are among the most traditional and direct methods of regulating importation. And plaintiffs concede that IEEPA authorizes quotas and other tariff equivalents. The major questions doctrine does not apply here. IEEPA confers major powers to address major problems on the president, who is perhaps the most major actor in the realm of foreign affairs. And the non-delegation doctrine casts no doubt on IEPA because Congress may assign the president broad authority regarding the conduct of foreign affairs where he enjoys his own inherent Article II powers. I welcome the court's questions.
Would you spend a few minutes on why exactly the major question doctrine doesn't apply to the president in this case?
Yes, Justice Thomas, and I may make 2 or 3 points on that front. First of all, though the major questions doctrine may apply to the president in other contexts, specifically in the foreign affairs context where he has his own inherent Article II authority, it's a particularly poor fit to apply the major questions doctrine, and that's for at least 2 reasons. First of all, just as a matter of kind of common sense interpretation, one would expect Congress to confer major powers on the president to address major, sort of foreign, international crises, so to speak, in foreign arising emergencies, that's just sort of a natural common sense thing you expect Congress to do. And in fact, Justice Jackson in his Youngstown opinion addressed this very situation in pages 652 and 653 when he says, this is the system within this is the procedure within our constitutional system that we have developed to strike the balance. What James and Moore described as the never-ending tension between the need for the executive to have robust powers to address emergencies and to subject it to checks and balances. What our constitutional system has devised to address that particular problem, that never-ending tension, is the system where Congress confers broad and necessary powers in advance and subjects them to ongoing political oversight, which is exactly what you see in IEPA. So that's one reason. One reason, just as a matter of common sense interpretation, you would expect Congress to grant.
Okay, just a quick thing, because I never do this enough. We are basically going to listen to this Supreme Court argument where Trump invoking emergency powers to do tariffs is being challenged mostly by small business owners and I think a state or two. John Sauer, the dude with the voice that kind of sounds like mine at this point, he was President Trump's personal lawyer. Now he's Solicitor General arguing basically for Trump and I guess Trump's government. He's not a good lawyer. He does a lot of struggle logic because Trump and his administration put him in really difficult positions. But he thinks the gravelly voice will work. Clarence Thomas is not amused with this motherfucker. You can just tell by the tone of the question.
Grant major powers to the president, who has his own broad range of major authority, inherent Article II authority in this context. And that is buttressed by the second point, which is...
General, there, and I know that you have a second question, and I want to let you get to that. But just on that first reason, it seemed to depend a lot on the president's inherent Article II powers. And I'm wondering what exactly, which powers you're speaking of there, because tariffs,
Stanley, can I ask
one
you a
would
question
naturally
real
think
quick?
is are the power to impose.
If you must.
I'm trying to put my battery on my car, and I don't know which wire hooks up to where on my battery.
And is there a question?
I need to know, like, do it's a certain way it's supposed to go on there?
Yes.
I don't know. I got an orange wire and I got a yellow wire.
Is that a question?
Yeah, I'm trying to...
No, I don't think that's a question. It's a statement. You got a wire.
Could you tell me which way to
You
do?
got wires that are different colors. I didn't hear a question.
All right, Bubba.
All righty. Well, let's get back to the scheduled programming.
Those taxes, the power to regulate foreign commerce, these are not things that are thought of as Article II powers. They are quintessential Article I powers. So what
ain't got
kind
no
of
red
Article
and
II
black
powers
wire.
are you relying on when you gave the answer about major questions to Justice Thomas?
I love watching C-SPAN. And I just have to say, I love listening to the Republicans because each and every one of them is a parrot for what Donald.
And sorry, Jim, we're going to have to end it right here on today's Washington Journal because the Supreme Court is getting underway, and we'll take you there right now. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Has created a public health crisis, taking hundreds of thousands of American lives. President Trump has declared that these emergencies are country-killing and not sustainable, that they threaten the bedrock of our national and economic security, and that fixing them will make America a strong, financially viable, and respected country again. Due to IEEPA tariffs, President Trump has negotiated agreements worth trillions of dollars with major trading partners, including most recently China. Unwinding those agreements, he warns, would expose us to ruthless trade retaliation by far more aggressive countries and drive America from strength to failure with ruinous economic and national security consequences. In Dames and Moore against Regan, this court held that IEEPA's sweeping and unqualified language grants the president's actions the strongest presumption of validity and the widest latitude of judicial interpretation. Yet plaintiffs argue that tariffs, IEEPA's least blunt and most nimble tool, are virtually the only tool that Congress did not grant the president to deal with foreign emergencies. That is wrong. The phrase regulate importation plainly embraces tariffs, which are among the most traditional and direct methods of regulating importation. And plaintiffs concede that IEEPA authorizes quotas and other tariff equivalents. The major questions doctrine does not apply here. IEEPA confers major powers to address major problems on the president, who is perhaps the most major.
This is literally a huge misstep. IEEPA is literally a law passed by Congress giving the president emergency powers to impose tariffs. That's all it does in an emergency. And Thomas starts the the avalanche, and dude, this motherfucker, all it does is grant the president power in an emergency. It's not broad powers.
Major actor in the realm of foreign affairs. And the non-delegation doctrine casts no doubt on IEEPA because Congress may assign the president broad authority regarding the conduct of foreign affairs where he enjoys his own inherent Article II powers. I welcome the court's questions.
Would you spend a few minutes on why exactly the major question doctrine doesn't apply to the president in this case?
Yes, Justice Thomas, and I may make 2 or 3 points on that front. First of all, though the major questions doctrine may apply to the president in other contexts, specifically in the foreign affairs context where he has his own inherent Article II authority, it's a particularly poor fit to apply the major questions doctrine, and that's for at least 2 reasons. First of all, just as a matter of
commerce, not foreign affairs. Commerce can be a foreign affairs, but commerce is specifically Congress.
Sense interpretation, one would expect Congress to confer major powers on the president to address major, sort of foreign international crises.
They
so to speak.
don't motherfucking confer, you moron. They delegate. They don't write the Constitution. Article 1 does not give Article 2 powers. This motherfucker is inarticulate and unprepared.
foreign arising emergencies, that's just sort of a natural common sense thing you expect Congress to do. And in fact, Justice Jackson, in his Youngstown opinion, addressed this very situation in pages 652 and 653, when he says, this is the system within this is the procedure within our constitutional system that we have developed to strike the balance. What Daines and Moore described as the never-ending tension between the need for the executive to have robust powers to address emergencies and to subject it to checks and balances. What our constitutional system has devised to address that particular problem, that never-ending tension, is the system where Congress confers broad administrative powers in advance and subjects them to ongoing
Congress
oversight
does not confer powers, you moron.
It's just a matter of common sense interpretation. You would expect Congress to grant major powers to the president, who has his own broad range of major authority, inherent Article 2 authority in this context. And that is buttressed by the second point, which is...
General, there, and I know that you have a second question, and I want to let you get to that. But just on that first reason, it seemed to depend a lot on the president's inherent Article 2 powers.
I want to point you out to what Justice Kagan just did. She interrupted this dumb fuck mid-question to point out a stupidity. And you know what? I said this like a while ago. When you're up on my goddamn panel, let's pretend it's like the Supreme Court. Yes, I'm going to interrupt you if you're going down a road I think is stupid avenue.
Stanley, why are you
The motherfucker, you are interrupting me when I'm talking. That's not how it works. If you sound stupid, I don't give a fuck about you being able to finish up your point. No, I interrupt. If you don't like it, get the fuck off my panel. It's rough and tumble. It's not for little boys and girls, and I'm not going to have mercy. Now, if I like you, if I think you may be going somewhere with an argument, I'll give you latitude. But dude, if I think you're making a stupid point that you can't recover from, I'm just going to shit on you on my panel.
Stanley,
this is not a motherfucker. Why are you talking when I'm talking? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
It's rough and tumble up here, kids, and I don't give quarter unless I want to. Now, what's your beef, little girl? No, Zhang, he's not smarter than Justice Jackson. If he was, he would be asking Solicitor General Jackson as Justice Sauer. What a dumb statement, Zhang. Do better.
Stanley, you need to learn how to talk to people.
Fuck talking to people.
You got to talk to these people with respect.
No, I don't got to do shit, son.
Yeah, you do, because that's how you going to keep
No, I do
around.
not. Dude, which part of I don't give a fuck can't you accept?
I don't know. Is it the give or the fuck?
Okay, well, if you don't know, why are you giving me advice? If you don't know, why would you even be suggesting what I should do?
It just sounds like the right thing.
Okay, motherfucker, answer my question.
What was
If you don't know, why should I even accept or pay attention to your advice?
Because you got to
No, motherfucker, if you don't know, it's a rhetorical question. If you don't know, if you do not know, I'm simply going to ignore you and mock you. How about that?
Well, I mean,
that's a rule. If you come talking bullshit, I'm just going to mock you. That's a rule. Okay?
Thing, you got to grow up and act your age, man.
I don't motherfucking have to do shit. You have to tolerate. Hey, you either tolerate it or you self-deport.
You got to respect people, Stanley.
No, I don't have to respect people. You either come up here
but you want people to respect
stand. I don't give a shit if they respect me. If they don't, I can bounce them.
So if somebody tell you a stupid bitch, then what?
I bounce them if I don't think they're right. Sometimes when people say, "Hey, Stanley, you're a stupid bitch," they might be right. Any other stupid questions?
I mean, not right now.
Well, good. Let us get back to the main event.
And I'm wondering what exactly, which powers you're speaking of there, because tariffs, one would naturally think, is are the power to impose taxes, the power to regulate foreign commerce. These are not things that are thought of as Article 2 powers. They are quintessential Article 1 powers. So what kind of Article 2 powers are you relying on when you gave the answer about major questions to Justice Thomas?
I would refer to what the court said, for example, on Egan, Department of Navy against Egan. That's a generally accepted view that the president has broad authority in the foreign affairs realm. Now, there's been debates about exactly how far it goes and how to draw the boundary between the president and Congress. But Egan, Garamendi, other cases, Curtis Wright, the court has recognized the president has broad inherent authority to address foreign situations, foreign affairs, foreign policy, including foreign arising emergencies. Now, we don't contend that he has, at least in peacetime, inherent tariffing authority.
I really don't understand, what these people are talking
There's
about.
the layer, the bedrock of the president's, inherent Article 2 powers, and layered on top of that is a sweeping delegation of authority from Congress. When you put those two things together, Congress is saying you have inherent powers to address international emergencies, and we're conferring on you the tools, including Article 1 tools, like, for example, the power to regulate foreign commerce. And I want to make a very important distinction here. We don't contend that what's being exercised here is the power to tax. It's the power to regulate foreign commerce. These are regulatory tariffs. They are not revenue-raising tariffs. The fact that they raise revenue is only incidental. The tariffs would be most effective, so to speak, if no...
I might have to do another interview about you, Stanley. Because you're a dummy. You don't understand what you're looking at, Stanley. I think you're a fruitcake.
No person ever paid them. If they achieve their goals, if they...
Counsel, you've already mentioned Dames and Moore three times, which surprises me a little because the court in Dames and Moore went out of its way to say that it was issuing a very narrow decision that pretty much expected to apply only in this case. Just a few quotes. It said, decisions in this area have been rare, episodic, and afford little precedential value for subsequent cases. Again, we lay down no general guidelines covering other situations not involved here and confine the opinion only to the very questions necessary to decision of this case. And it ended the opinion. It said, finally, we re-emphasize the narrowness of our decision. Now, this at issue in Dames and Moore was a different provision of IEPA, not at issue here, and certainly did not concern tariffs. So I don't quite understand how you can get as much out of Dames and Moore as you're trying to get.
Maybe I could put it this way. You don't dispute that Dames and Moore is, as you state, a narrow opinion. However, it addressed certain principles that we think are equally applicable here. For example, the interpretive principle. Dames and Moore held, and again, it was the power to nullify and void, not the power to regulate, but it's in the very same sentence, in the very same statute, and the court quoted the First Circuit opinion and said, look, this is sweeping and unqualified language, which it didn't disagree with. And then it said, this particular provision where Congress has given these broad verbs, I mean, regulate is a capacious verb, admittedly, so are nullify, so are void, so are frankly all the other verbs there in the language in IEPA. The way the court thought about it is we are looking at this through the lens of Justice Jackson's opinion in Youngstown, and the court held specifically that these verbs place the president in Youngstown's
You got me fucked up, Stan.
The court held that he is subject to the widest latitude of judicial interpretation, that he received the strongest presumption of validity.
I just don't understand this argument. It's not an Article it's a congressional power, not a presidential power to tax. And you want to say tariffs are not taxes, but that's exactly what they are. They're generating money from American citizens.
And
revenue.
then you have
And
top of
say it's
that, you lied to
incidental
everybody
to the
yesterday too. Told me you wasn't
Okay,
going over
dude.
there and watch John Galt,
Whoa.
but you did it anyway.
Why the motherfucker you talking when I'm trying to listen to this?
Because you
Can
were
you,
lying. Because
can
you
you
told us you
help?
wasn't going
Can
over
you
there
help
to
me
watch
out?
the interview, but you did.
Why are you taking your white privilege here?
You said why I'm what?
Okay, motherfucker, you heard what I said. Don't repeat it. Answer it.
Don't cuss me out, Stan.
Motherfucker, I will curse you out on my panel as I see fit. Or leave.
Look here, you little bitch girl.
Motherfucker,
Don't do that.
no, it does not work like that, sir.
It
Self-deport.
does work like that. You asked me a question. Let me answer the question.
Self-motherfucking-deport.
Let me
Self-deport.
answer the question.
If the heat is too hot
It
in
ain't
your
nothing
kitchen,
too hot
get
for
the
JD.
fuck out, little woman.
Stanley, you ran over
Motherfucker,
there
you
and watched
need
the
to
interview and
you
got
need to
kicked
step
out.
outside the kitchen and motherfucking walk on some grass and take that hose and put some wood on you if it's too hot. Motherfucker, on my panel, you are just a panelist. Period.
Stanley, you need
You
to
don't
understand.
motherfucking
It don't work how you want it to work,
Look,
Stanley.
I hear white privilege talking.
You don't want
Motherfucker,
everything don't revolve around how you feel,
I
Stanley.
want every motherfucker up on my panel to do as I say, and you will follow the rules or self-deport.
I'm standing up for everybody, Stanley.
Fuck everybody and fuck you. Nobody
No, fuck
elected.
you. Fuck you, cocksucker.
Hey, who here in this panel elected JB their representative? Put
They
a
don't
one in
have
the
to.
chat.
I'm
Hey,
just doing what's
motherfucker, I'm
right.
talking bitch. If you want JB to be your representative, put a one in the chat. A one means JB is your is your representative. And guess what's going to happen? Because I'm a bit of a dictator. I see Richard wants JB to be his representative. So I'm going to play this and I will be looking. The classic rivalry. There is no rivalry on my panel. There, Con. One or two. One, if you are voting, motherfucker, just put a one. I don't need to represent anyone except myself. If you want JB to be the chat senator, put a one.
For a purpose. But I don't see how a quota is equivalent to revenue
Well, that's
raising.
two votes there, JB.
Sets a limit to what you can import in, but it doesn't generate
Now I'll bring
revenue.
you up. You need to shut the fuck
I
up
don't
until the
understand this
votes are
argument,
in.
that it's equivalent.
I'm
Or
a
that
man,
foreign
Stanley.
powers or even an emergency
No, you're
can
not.
do away with the
You're
major
a
questions doctrine.
panelist.
But
Didn't
still
we
a
in the
man,
Biden
Stanley.
case recently say an emergency can't make
Two
clear
votes for
what's ambiguous?
JB. There's
As to that
what
point, I
shit? There's
believe,
four people in the chat.
The court has
And
never
my
applied
vote
the major questions
stand
doctrine.
up for
basically
what's right,
over.
Stanley.
Motherfucker,
We
shut the
have,
fuck up while
foreign
this is
counsel,
playing.
we have never applied it to foreign affairs.
You
but
had a
this is
problem with
tariff.
me,
This
Stanley?
is a tax.
It is a.
I have
it
a
is if I
problem
may,
with
it's
you
a
disturbing what I'm
foreign-facing
listening to.
regulation of foreign commerce. That's
Pause it, and let's
Commerce
talk
is
it out.
everything.
I can be
So
your therapist.
Biden could have declared.
Okay, dude, we don't talk out what I don't want to talk out. What I need you to do is shut the fuck up and comment when you need to comment.
You don't want to
have
ask me
not,
nicely
I
to be quiet,
motherfucker.
Stanley?
I'm gonna have to put you in the back.
Shut up.
What the fuck? Do you think I'm John Galt, motherfucker? I have zero patience for stupid people. So don't be stupid. I don't need you to prove my argument. I don't need you to defend me on John Galt's. Motherfucker, John Galt doesn't have the temerity to let me come up to his panel so I can put my foot up his ass. I don't need you to defend me, JB. Stop acting like I do. It's getting annoying, bitch. I don't need you to defend me. I'm perfectly capable. I appreciate you defending me, but all you're doing is letting a pussy like John Galt and his little minions like fucking Latino and I can't keep a wife Jones. You're just you are playing into their hands, and none of them have the balls to come up and confront me on their shows or my show. I don't need you to be my lawyer. I can do it. Now, dude, you have 0 strikes. I will put your ass in the back.
Well, I wasn't
You don't,
defending.
motherfucker, you don't get to talk until I say you talk. Any other stupidities?
Yeah, I wasn't defending you over there. I was talking down on you, bub.
Oh, you were talking down?
Hell yeah. You got to listen
Okay.
to it
So,
again.
well, this is awesome. So you were talking down and you're up on my panel currently, right?
Yeah, I was telling them how you just sit up here and act like a woman and you talk to people crazy.
So you think you are so masculine that you think you can come up on this panel and tell me that you were shitting on me on John Galt's panel? Is that
I was
how
shitting
this
on you
is
like
working?
a motherfucker, Stanley.
Awesome. Okay. Well, now I know. Any other bullshit?
Any other bullshit, I was telling them how about you get people up here, you don't let them talk, you don't let them reply back to anything, you interrupt everybody, and you're disrespectful.
Now, let me ask you a question. So, do you think you coming up to my panel telling me all this is going to change the way I do things?
I mean, I'm just trying to help
Okay,
you out in the
motherfucker,
long
that's a
run.
yes no. That is a yes no question. Do
don't answer
you think you admitting all this is going to change my mind on how I do panels?
Well, Stanley, I don't answer questions.
Well, then, motherfucker, you don't need to be on my panel. If you can't
I'm
answer,
just up here to get
okay,
shit straight,
bitch.
which
See, this is where dumb fucks like you can't land a punch. If you thought that you admitting to whatever it is you think you did on John Galt's panel is going to change, do you think you're going to shame me in listening to dumb fucks? No, I am me. Don't be here if you don't like it. John Galt is too pussy to come up here because he doesn't like how I just beat him up. All those dumb fucks on John Galt's panel are literally they are toys on the misfit island. They're the island of misfit toys because they couldn't survive the experience on my panel. Ponder, I beat the shit out of her. John Galt, I used to beat the shit out of John Galt on his own channel, on his own show, on his own panel. I used to do it and laugh when I did it. Latino for Trump, that motherfucker's, I don't even think of Latino for Trump. When I think of a smart motherfucker, Latino for Trump is not who I think of. So, no, I'm not going to change the way I conduct my panel. No, I'm not going to change the show. If you're interesting, you can talk. If you're going to come up here and talk dumb shit about what I did on John Galt's panel, motherfucker, go back to John Galt's panel. You don't need to be here. I don't get impressed. The truth is I do it the fuck on my panel, and there's not a goddamn thing you or John Galt can do about it. Go to John Galt's
Well, I'm
panel
speaking for
and
me, Stanley.
go to John Galt's panel, trash me away. It's not going to change the way I do things.
I'm speaking for me.
Okay, bitch, you can't change the way I do shit. Do you understand? Speak for you. You can't change me.
I get it.
Okay, good. Then there's nothing else to talk about.
Declared a national emergency in global warming, and then gotten his student forgiveness to not be a major questions doctrine?
I don't think he could have gotten student loan forgiveness.
Why?
But
It's
perhaps he
global.
could have.
It's foreign facing. We need all of these things to.
Stanley, you must need some pussy.
To tax fossil fuel or to do something else.
Mother, are you
That's all Biden would
disturbing
have
what
had to
I'm
do with
listening
any of
to
his
again?
programs.
Let me
What
put
the
it
fuck
this
is
way,
wrong
if
with
I
you?
may.
It's just declare
You just
some
need some pussy,
foreign-facing
Stanley.
purpose.
If I may, maybe I can
Go
articulate
get
this
me
way.
some
The power
motherfucker.
to
Otherwise,
impose tariffs
shut the fuck
is a
up.
core
I'm listening to
application
this.
of the power to regulate foreign commerce, which is what the phrase regulate importation in IEPA naturally evokes.
Why
Not the
is
power to
it?
tax.
Why,
What's
could you tell me why it is that when Congress intended to permit a president to regulate by imposing tariffs, it's always used tariff and regulate? I have about 16 laws in the past that when Congress intended regulate to mean taxing, that it used taxes simultaneously. But it didn't here.
Respectfully, this court came to the opposite conclusion, if I may, in Algonquin, where the phrase
You
was
must
not
be
imposed.
gay, that's why you don't want pussy.
We did something in Algonquin. It was in the duties section, unlike here. It was paired with questions about decreasing tariffs and increasing tariffs. So it's a very different statute than the one at issue here.
But the governing language, admittedly, the references to duties in Section 232A, 232C does not refer to them, and the court didn't refer to 232A at all, or the phrases duties or tariffs as analysis. What it held was the phrase adjust imports, which includes a verb that's narrower.
But it was in the
regulating
context.
naturally encompasses.
It was in context of activities that had to do with raising and lowering duties. Here, the verbs that accompany regulate have nothing to do with raising revenues in the form of taxes.
And counsel, Algonquin wasn't a textualist opinion. Do you agree with that? In other words, the analysis that the court was using there was really keyed to the legislative history of that statute, and it wasn't as though we were doing an interpretation of the word adjust.
I disagree with that. I think if you read the opinion, first it talks about plain meaning, then it talks about statutory context, and then it goes on to legislative history. So it was all three of those. And the conclusion it came to, it directly addressed and rejected the argument that the D.C. Circuit had accepted in that case, which is that when Congress wants to delegate the authority to tariff, it uses a consistently explicit and well-defined approach, which is to use these magic words, tariff, tax, impost, and so forth.
All right,
the court said, no, Congress is not bound to use that particular formulation when it wants to confer this power.
Let me ask you about the premise of your argument, which you sort of started at the beginning saying that one would expect for Congress to give the president a broad leeway in this kind of foreign affairs context. And I guess I'm wondering whether you also don't have to contend with the actual purpose of IEPA in making this argument, because as I understand it, that the IEPA was designed and intended to limit presidential authority, that Congress was concerned about how presidents had been using the authority under the predecessor statute, TWIA, and it's pretty clear that Congress was trying to constrain the emergency powers of the president in IEPA. So it seems a little inconsistent to say that we have to interpret a statute that was designed to constrain presidential authority, consistent with an understanding that Congress wanted the president to have essentially unlimited authority.
I disagree with that because what Congress actually did as...
What part do you disagree with? I'm sorry.
Well, I disagree with the notion that they were trying to constrain the breadth of the actions the president may take when it comes to this particularly narrow domain, which is various regulations of transactions.
But how can you disagree with that? I mean, the history is what it is.
Because they made a series of changes to IEPA that relate to the triggering conditions, so to speak, and the procedures that apply, but they did not change the language.
Right, but what was the intent?
This is literally every justice so far mocking John Sowers. Dude, even motherfucking Alito is mocking this dude. This is hilarious.
Of Congress in changing the language, wasn't it to constrain presidential authority in this area?
Are you saying something?
Yeah, I'm asking you a question.
Well, I'm sorry. What was the question?
I said, why? You just need some pussy? That's why you acting like that?
I'm sorry. Say what?
I said, do you need some pussy? Is that why you acting like that?
Are you... Why would you ask me this sort of question on this panel?
Because you acting like you...
Okay, motherfucker. See, what I think, you are a back-asswards country fuck who does not understand how to ask people questions on a panel. That's not the sort of thing. That's not the motherfucker. I'm talking. Why are you talking? What you will do, you fucking Daniel Baboon, is have some decorum. Don't ask me. Don't even ask me a question like that again. Do you understand?
Well, I'll try.
Do you motherfucking understand? Yes, no question.
No, do you want some dick?
Bitch. See, you obviously think this is a John Galt production. Take your ass to where you belong. You obviously don't belong here. I'm listening to this. Do not disturb.
Conditions and the procedures that apply in this.
So those are the triggering context. The triggering conditions and procedures that apply are a means to constrain. That is how they went around about constraining. But my point is that Congress enacted this legislation with the intent of preventing the president from having unlimited powers in this area. And you're asking us to now interpret that statute consistent with an understanding that Congress wanted to allow the president to do pretty much whatever he wanted in this area.
Congress took the language from TWIA and enacted the very same language, and most importantly here, the very same
actually,
phrase,
I do tell you what to do. On my panel, I do.
And therefore, the natural inference is Congress did not intend to change the scope of authority, the powers, the tools the president can exercise.
Did any president under TWIA use that language to impose tariffs?
Well, yes, President Nixon's 1971 tariff.
Not a tariff. That wasn't a tariff. It was a licensing agreement during wartime. It was a specific thing. A tariff I'm talking about.
I'm referring to President Nixon's 1971 tariff.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yes, I thought you meant Lincoln.
Not only that, but then it was upheld by the Court of Appeals with exclusive jurisdiction under this very phrase.
Can I back you up just a second? I'm sorry. You're talking so quickly. President Nixon did not rely on TWIA initially to impose the tariffs. Is that correct? I understood that was just a litigating position that he took once it was challenged. That was not his initial.
I wouldn't put it that way because he has a broad invocation. I'm invoking all range of statutes, something like that, in Proclamation 4074. And I think the understanding is he didn't want to kind of spook our allies by invoking the Trading with the Enemies Act, by specifically invoking it. But in litigation, it was defended on that ground. So the Department of Justice defended it as an exercise of TWIA and did so successfully.
What's the significance of the Nixon example and precedent here? Because I think figuring that out is real important to deciding this case correctly. So,
Well, there's one obvious, very powerful takeaway from it, which is that this very two-word phrase, regulate importation, that we say it carries with it the authority to tariff, impose regulatory tariffs at the border, forward-facing tariffs at the border, and we say that's a core application of the phrase regulate importation, had been interpreted 2 years before Congress reenacted that language in IEPA, had been interpreted to carry with it the authority to impose tariffs. So this court said in Algonquin, for example, with respect to President Nixon's
just back on the Nixon, what was the scope of the Nixon tariffs?
10%, he imposed a 10% tariff kind of across the board to all our major trading partners to address a balance of payments deficit, where he was trying to bring all the major industrial nations to the negotiating table, which he successfully did, for the imposition of the tariffs, and they negotiated the Smithsonian Agreement in about 5 months, after which he lifted the tariff. So the tariff there was used as here, in part as leverage to get our trading partners to the negotiating table, and it was subsequently upheld by the Federal Circuit, the CCPA, its Federal Circuit's predecessor that had exclusive jurisdiction over that question, to include the power to tariff. And then 2 years later, Congress took that same phrase and reenacted it in IEPA after carefully studying the problem of presidential emergency powers and being deeply concerned about, excessive or abusive exercise of that power. So that whole sort of process gives sort of strong sort of confirmation.
This
phrase,
is
regulated
literally
importation, carries
a
with it the power
waste of
tariff.
time.
Now, of course, that's not.
Someone needs to ask this dumb fuck, where is the emergency? That's literally the linchpin of this. They're talking about, they're quibbling over this. Someone needs to ask him, where the fuck is the emergency? Define it.
Our lead argument on interpretation is there's a pedigree, historical pedigree of regulating imports specifically, where the power to tariff is just the sort of a core application of that, a quintessential exercise of that power. That goes back to Gibbons against Ogden and Justice Story's treatise and runs all the way through cases like McGoldrick and Board of Trustees and more.
Sauer, can I just ask you a question? Can you?
I'm sorry. I thought you were. I thought you were one of the justices. I'm sorry. I've been. What do you have to say?
I said, why you can't ask them since you think you know it all?
Because I'm not there. This is a recording.
Well, can't you message me?
You do know this is not live, right?
Yeah, I know that. I ain't
Okay, then you have answered your question.
here, bitch.
I can't motherfucking ask because it's not live. It is a recording, Memorex. It is a recording, Memorex. Dude, it is a recording. Thank you. Thank you for answering your own question.
History where that phrase
No,
together,
I don't
regulate
need to let you
importation,
talk.
has been used to confer tariff imposing authority?
Well, as to regulate importation, that was held in TWIA. So obviously, and that's
Okay, so an intermediate appellate court held it in TWIA, but you just told Justice Kavanaugh that wasn't your lead argument, that your lead argument was this long history of the phrase regulate importation being understood to include tariff authority. So my question is, has there ever been another instance in which a statute has conferred?
Oh, by the way, this actually was something, and I can't remember who I made the comment to earlier today. Ketanji Jackson Brown is the smartest justice, at least the way she asks questions. Justice Barrett is the second smartest. All those other old fool motherfucker, I'm talking. Why are you even attempting to talk? So KBJ, I'm sorry, did I say Jackson Brown? I meant Ketanji Brown Jackson, smartest questioner, and therefore the smartest justice. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, second smartest. All the other blokes up there are just up there, fucking taking, they're just up there. These two women are, motherfucker, why are you talking when I'm talking? Two of the smartest justices, I listen to this sort of stuff. They ask good questions. Now, what the fuck do you have to say?
I said, well, we know who not smart.
You?
That would be you, Stanley.
Yeah, well, I'm not a Supreme Court justice.
That's
Irrelevant.
right, 'cause you're not smart enough.
Irrelevant to my point.
Nope.
Use that language to confer the
We're
power.
done.
Putting aside
You
Yoshida.
may listen
obviously,
now.
the other statutory example is just imports. The cases we rely on are cases where, for example, in Gibbons, it's Ogden and Justice Story's
But that
treatise
just
there.
shows the word can be used that way. None of those cases talked about it as conferring tariff
You'll
authority.
never be as smart as JB.
I understood you to be citing McGoldrick and Gibbons and those cases just to show that it's possible to say that regulating commerce includes the power to tariff.
I think our argument goes a bit further than that as an interpretive matter, because if you look at that history, the history of delegations.
Could you just answer the justice's question?
Can you identify any statute that used that phrase to confer tariff?
Yeah, the only two statutes I can identify now are TWIA, as interpreted in Yoshida, and then closely related, not regulate importation, but adjust imports in section 232.
Well, I think adjust imports is differently. So the answer is the contested application in TWIA and then now in IEPA.
And then, of course, I mean, there's a sort of direct line there.
Yeah, I understand that, but okay.
But then more fundamentally, we rely on the historical sources to show there's this long historical pedigree of broad delegations of the foreign commerce power, not the power to tax that we're not asserting here, delegations of the foreign commerce power to the president, going back to Gibbons against Ogden, all the way through McGoldrick and Board of Trustees, where this court and founding era sources say the power to, in other words, the power to tariff is kind of this natural, as everyone knows, that includes.
Just ask you one other
power to
question
regulate
about
commerce.
the plain text, General Sauer. So you've referred to
Yeah,
other
you're-
verbs in
you're
IEPA
blathering
as
on.
capacious. Would you really describe them as
You're blathering on. Can I ask you another question? Because obviously we'll never get to a conclusion with your lack of knowledge over nothing much at all. She
Stanley, you a
is
dick
talking
rider.
to a JB Smooth,
You a
and
dick rider,
motherfucker,
Stanley.
she sounds annoyed.
You're a dick rider.
Then bye. Self-deport.
you, asshole.
You don't want to be up on a panel with a dick. Self-deport.
Yeah.
capacious? Because to me, things
got
like
me an
nullify
interview
and
scheduled
void.
for
Capacious,
have definite meaning. I agree
motherfucker.
with
I'm
you that
being
regulate is a broader
capacious.
term, but those words I think are powerful. They pack a punch, but I wouldn't describe them as capacious in the sense that they have a wide range
Motherfucker.
of
Wait,
meaning.
hold
So
it.
can
You know what?
describe what you mean by
I thought I heard someone speaking over what I'm listening to.
Yeah, I was telling you I got an interview with John Galt tonight. You gonna tune in?
Nope.
Yep, you said that yesterday.
What time is the interview?
It's at 9:30.
And hey, everyone, go ahead and announce it. You can certainly announce it. Drop the link if you want. I think you have a wrench. Okay, motherfucker, I'm goddamn talking, right? Do you have a wrench? Do you have a wrench, JB?
No, I don't, Stanley.
Okay, well, let me give you a wrench so you personally can drop the link so everyone can watch you and John Galt. Give me 1 sec here. I'm adding you as a moderator, sir. You find the link where you and John Galt are going to be talking. Feel free to drop it into the chat. So everyone can go over and watch that interview. Is that fair? Is that good? Motherfucker, is that good enough for you?
Yeah, but I'm trying to announce.
Okay, then motherfucker, that's all you get. I'm going back to what I want to listen to.
Patience.
Let me put it this way. You look at all 9 verbs together, and you're looking at a spectrum of
Thank
powers
you.
from the most sort of negative, nullify, block, prohibit, void, to the most affirmative, direct, compel, and then also powers in between that are more intermediate, regulate, investigate, and so forth. So the natural common sense inference from that grammatical structure is the intention of Congress to sort of cover the waterfront.
Well,
to grant the power
possible, possible, except Congress did take out a whole bunch of verbs. It took out confiscate, vest, hold, use, administer, liquidate, sell, which were in the prior statute. And crucially, what it doesn't have here is anything that refers to raising revenue. So it has a lot of verbs, it has a lot of actions that can be taken under this statute. It just doesn't have the one you want.
Well, I would say the notion that all these other verbs are sort of not revenue raising like block and prohibit, I think that that argument is unconvincing for two reasons. One, of course, is that we're not saying it confers a revenue raising power, we're saying it confers a regulatory power, and that's a crucial distinction. But also—
Yes, but if I can just stop you there, regulatory power, I mean, yes, it says regulate, but I'll broaden out Justice Barrett's question. Is there any place that you can find in the entire code where regulate, used just as regulate, includes taxing power?
We don't assert that. We say it includes tariffing power when it's combined with importation, and that's just the most natural—
Right, because the natural understanding of regulate, even though in fact we can regulate through taxes, but when the code uses regulate, we don't typically understand it to refer to duties or taxes or tariffs or anything of the kind. And then if you look at the flip side of this, and you look at all the tariff statutes that Congress has passed, I mean, they use language about revenue raising, tariffs and duties and taxes, all the language that does not appear in the statute you rely on.
Start with sort of grammatical structure of the statute, then refer to the other statutes. Regulate importation. You put those two words in combination. That's the inference from that is, the founders discussed with this sort of like, as everyone knows attitude. Regulate importation, one of the most natural applications of that is the power to tariff. So when Congress confers the power to regulate imports, it is naturally conferring the power to tariff, which it has delegated to the executive branch, again and again and again.
I'm sorry, counsel. It doesn't say regulate tariffs. It says regulate importations and exportations. You agree that they can't put taxes on exportations?
From the states, yeah, we agree with that, yes.
All right. So why should we think that it's natural then to think that regulate importation includes taxing importations?
Because that is how—
in the conjunctive, importations and exportations. If they can't do it with respect to exportations, why are we permitting them to do it with respect to importations?
Because as this court has recognized, going back to Gibbons against Ogden and going through McGoldrick and Board of Trustees, the phrase, when you're regulating imports, tariffing is a core application of that. So in other words, if you're saying go regulate trading in securities,
so why
that would come with a tariffing connotation.
Why is it that Congress has always used regulate and tax together in the code? Are you telling us that with respect to its use of regulate in other statutes, the taxing reference is superfluous? They didn't need to do that?
I'm not sure what other statutes use regulate and tax together, but this statute has a specific historical pedigree going back to its enactment during World War I in 1917, where the phrase regulate importation is evoking an inherent power to tariff that became established in the 19th century in cases like Hamilton against Dillon and so forth, and that history is, I think, set forth in Professor Baumsei's amicus brief.
Counsel, some time ago you dismissed the applicability of the major questions doctrine, and I want you to explain that a little bit more. I mean, it seems that it might be directly applicable. You have a claim source in IEPA that had never before been used to justify tariffs.
Whilst I'm listening, what's wrong with you? What's wrong? I'm sorry, what's wrong? I'm sorry, what?
You gonna tune in to the interview tonight?
Did you drop the link?
Oh shit, let me do it.
Motherfucker, did you not hear me the first time?
Well, I do.
So, dude, just drop the goddamn link.
Who the fuck you
No one has argued
I'm
that it does,
literally telling you
until
drop the link.
this particular case. Congress uses tariffs in
Okay,
other,
motherfucker, drop the link.
But not here, and yet, and correct me on this if I'm not right about it, the justification is being used for a power to impose tariffs on any product from any country in any amount for any length of time. That seems like, I'm not suggesting it's not there, but it does seem like that's major authority, and the basis for the claim seems to be a misfit. So why doesn't it apply again?
Well, we agree that it's a major power, but it's in the context of a statute that is explicitly conferring major powers, that the point of the statute is to confer major powers to address major questions, which are emergencies. So it'd be unusual to say, look at the statute and say, we're not going to find a major power here.
Well, but the exercise of the power is to impose tariffs, right? And the statute doesn't use the word tariffs.
But it uses the word regulate importation. And historically, a core central application of that, a big piece of that, has always been to tariff. If you had asked the founders, how do you regulate imports? They would say, of course, we tariff. That's what we do. So it'd be very unusual to say, we're giving you power to regulate importation, and say, but you cannot impose regulatory tariffs. That'd be almost a contradiction. And all the historical sources we cite in our brief, relate to that particular historical pedigree. And as I was referring to earlier, there's a specific pedigree of regulated importation here in the specific context of the presidents Polk and Lincoln and President McKinley asserting the authority to impose tariffs in wartime. That was then codified in TWIA and then recodified for peacetime in TWIA in 1933 and then carried over into IEPA. So there's that as well. But more importantly, if you look at the sort of triggering conditions that members of this court have identified for the major questions doctrine, there's a series of them, and we think they really do, all of them don't apply here. For example, the notion that the power is unheralded. You referred to the fact that IEPA has never been asserted to invoke tariffs, but of course, the immediately predecessor statute, the tariffs that President Nixon imposed on that were upheld under this very language. So this, I would say this is, and it was recodified in IEPA 2 years later. So this is kind of the opposite of unheralded power. It's also heralded because there's this long-standing delegation, a tradition of very broad delegations of the foreign commerce power going back to the founding, going back to
the foreign commerce part. But I mean, and I think this is a question for the other side as well. It's two-facing. Yes, of course, tariffs and dealings with foreign powers, but the vehicle is imposition of taxes on Americans, and that has always been the core power of Congress. So to have the president's foreign affairs power trump that basic power for Congress seems to me to kind of at least neutralize between the two powers, the executive power and the legislative power.
Let me say two things in response to that. First, the notion that the taxes are all borne by Americans and are not borne by foreign producers whose goods are imported is empirically, there's no basis for that in the record. It's actually a mix.
Well, who pays the tariffs? If a tariff is imposed on automobiles, who pays them?
Typically there'd be regardless of who the importer of record is, there'd be a contract that would go along the sort of line of transfer that would allocate the tariff, and there'd be different. Sometimes the foreign producer would pay them. Sometimes the importer would bear the cost. The importer could be an American, could be a foreign company. A lot of times it's a wholly owned American subsidiary of a foreign corporation. So it gets allocated. The empirical estimates range from like 30% to 80% of like how much is borne by American
it's
citizens.
been suggested that the tariffs are responsible for significant reduction in our deficit. I would say that's raising revenue domestically.
There certainly is an incidental and collateral effect of the tariffs that they do raise revenue, but it's very important that they are regulatory tariffs, not revenue-raising tariffs. And the way you can see this, I think, if you look at this policy is by far the most effective if nobody ever pays the tariffs. I say two policies, right? So if you look at the trade deficit emergency, if nobody ever pays the tariffs and instead Americans direct their consumption towards American producers and stimulate the rebuilding of our hollowed out manufacturing base, then the policy is by far the most effective. So a tariff, a regulatory tariff that...
Why not do what the statute permits? Bar importation of products altogether. That would be the most effective way to do it.
The question
you follow the statute. The statute says the president can do that. What it doesn't say is the president can raise revenue.
What it says is he can regulate importation and go back for hundreds of years the way you regulate
quotas, causing it, subjecting some countries and not others to importation bans. There's a lot of verbs, but none of them include generating revenue as a side effect or directly.
Let me address that verb point, if I may, because think about the canonical example, a statute that refers to a list of swords, knives, daggers, dirks, and pikes. There you look at that list of things and you say, aha, those are all weapons, therefore a pike is a spear, not a fish in that particular context. Now look at this list of verbs, block, prohibit, compel, direct, and so forth. You don't look at that naturally as an ordinary reader and say, oh, look, they're all not revenue raising. What you say is they're all very broad,
powerful, actions that you can
General,
take.
the verbs that are in the statute are actually doing something. I mean, they're in the statute for a reason, and as I understand it, Congress actually explained to us in its Senate report and House report when it enacted the 1941 amendments to TWIA, what it was doing. It said that what we are doing is authorizing the president, in the Senate report, quote, to control or freeze property transactions where a foreign interest is involved. There's similar language about controlling, freezing control in the House report. So I appreciate that generally you can look at these words and you can imagine that they mean certain things, but here we have evidence that Congress was actually trying to do a particular thing with respect to the authority that it was presenting to the president, and that thing was not raising revenue.
I think that the powers that Congress was conferring on the president are best understood through the plain text of the statutes, which includes regulating.
No, I know, but some of us care about the legislative history. And so the plain text of the statute has certain verbs in it. It also has regulate commerce, as you say. And when I look at the legislative history, it appears as though Congress was trying to give the president the authority to, quote, control or freeze property transactions where a foreign interest is involved. And in the TWIA context, that makes perfect sense because we're talking about a wartime dynamic. And what is happening is the president needs the authority to prevent trading with the enemy in the midst of a war. And that seems to be the focus of this statute. So I guess I'm concerned about just sort of taking a particular word here and there and saying that the general view of it might include raising revenue when in fact it looks as though the aim of this was really to give the president a certain kind of authority to freeze the assets of the enemy.
And let me say two things in response to that. First, as the notion that this is a revenue-raising tactic or power, it is not. We are asserting a regulatory power. It's a delegation of the power to regulate foreign commerce. The way to control imports traditionally has been to tariff them. They say, well, you can impose quotas. Well, quotas are essentially economically equivalent to tariffs. So the question is, why would you be able to quota under regulate but not tariff under regulate when the tariffs are themselves regulatory? And let me turn back to the question the response I was giving to the Chief Justice to illustrate that.
Could the answer be that in other places where Congress wants that particular form of regulation to be used, they say impose duties. They say you can tax, Mr. President. Here they don't say that.
I'd say two things in response to that. That's the very argument that this court rejected in Algonquin. That the fact that these other specific statutes,
If we disagree with you
if we
disagree with you that Algonquin is a similar context, do you have another statute or another circumstance?
And again, not to cite Algonquin again, but obviously we discussed the phrase adjust imports. And they said, the natural way to do that is to tariff them. And they specifically said it makes no sense at all to authorize quotas, which was conceded that statute did authorize, but not tariffs, because those are equivalent.
But it said adjust by any means necessary, which kind of beefs up the adjust. And also, and this is actually, I just don't know the answer to this question, so maybe you can help and maybe the other side can help as well. Algonquin was very careful to always call it a license and a licensing fee. And in the oral argument that came up too, the distinction between a tariff and a licensing fee. And I can understand how in some contexts it would be very difficult. You would press on it and you would say, well, if this license fee is raising revenue, then it actually functions as a tariff. But what is the significance of that? Because in IEPA, it also says, it refers particularly to licenses. It says you can license. And license would be a way of giving permission. That's actually the language also used in the Civil War one. And what is it?
Hamilton against Dillon. Exactly. Yes, it does.
It was a license. It was a license fee. And that's a way to grant permission that you wouldn't otherwise have to trade and import and let it through. So tell me what the distinction is between licenses and fees and if it matters.
It's hard for me to see one because what President Lincoln said is, okay, we're going to allow imports from hostile foreign powers, basically rebellious Confederate states, of cotton subject to a license. But you got to pay 4 cents a pound on cotton. When you do it, that's the condition. That is so nearly equivalent to a tariff that says you can bring these goods into our country, but you got to pay a ad valorem assessment on it.
And so, and of course, they have in their briefs conceded that quotas apply, that licensing may apply. There is the language in the beginning of 1701 that talks about instruments, or other methods, instruments, licenses.
But if that were true, why couldn't you just call this a license? And it's also true that in the cotton example, the court said the exaction itself was not properly a tax, but a bonus required as a condition precedent for engaging in the trade. So it seems like it was a little squirrely about how it was proceeding. And if there really is no distinction, why couldn't you just call it a license here?
Very briefly, the other two cases, the Polk case and then the President McKinley case, talk about duties. So I see an equivalence there, Mr. Chief Justice.
Thank you, counsel. Justice Thomas, anything further?
The other side is going to make an argue on delegation, I believe. Would you anticipate that and give us your understanding of the delegation argument?
Yes, Justice Thomas. I'd say a couple things in response to that. First of all, this court has stated that the non-delegation doctrine does not apply with anything like the same force as it does in the domestic context in the foreign context. And that, again, to cite Dames and Moore again, Dames and Moore cites Youngstown. In Youngstown, in footnote 2 of Justice Jackson's opinion, he goes into detail about this. He addresses Curtis Wright. He says there's a lot of broad dicta in Curtis Wright, but the holding of Curtis Wright, the ratio dissidenti, is that the domestic non-delegation doctrine does not apply with the same force in the foreign context. And then he uses that phrase, does not apply. He says the strict limitations on delegation that apply, in the internal context do not apply in the external context. And so we rely on that line of cases. And for the reasons I talked about earlier, we're talking about a situation where the president has his own inherent authority to address foreign arising emergencies, and Congress is conferring tools on him that expand his ability, his capacity to do so. We are in the area of Youngstown Zone 1.
A few times you have alluded to the history as being important in interpreting the statute, and also that this language comes from the Trading with the Enemies Act, and that has its own pedigree. Could you just sketch out this direct line that you were alluding to as a basis for interpreting the current emergency statute as you would like it interpreted?
Yes, Justice Thomas, and turning back to the response I was giving to Justice Barrett earlier, there is, I think it's very well set out in Professor Baumsei's amicus brief, there is this history of presidents using a tariffing power or a tariff equivalent power, very, very close to tariffing power, in wartime to tariff trading with enemies. And that is when the Trading with the Enemy Act was enacted in 1917, it was deliberately evoking that. And when it brings in the power to regulate importation, it's essentially codifying for an inherent power the president's already recognized to have. And then in 1933, when that power is expanded to an area where he wouldn't inherently have it, the peacetime context, that codification, the meaning of that remains the same. The regulate importation language that's brought in from TWIA and then ultimately to IEPA in 1977 is carrying with it that connotation, and that's reinforced by all the cases we've cited in our brief where there's been extremely broad delegations of the power to tariff specifically and the power to regulate foreign commerce more generally, going back to the time of the founding, which ties to your question about non-delegation.
Justice Alito?
The court of the CCPA said things in Yoshida that are helpful to your position, but it also said some other things. It said that future surcharges, quote, must of course comply with Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. And it said that the Trading with the Enemy Act did not authorize the president to, quote, fix rates of duty at will without regard to statutory rates prescribed by Congress. So do you think that Congress, to the extent Congress had that decision in mind and relied on it, do you think it also relied on those statements in the opinion?
Not in the same way, because those statements are read into other provisions of TWIA that Congress did not enact in ANIPA. They may still be there in TWIA, but those are limitations that it wouldn't make sense to do. And I think the significance of Yoshida is at a higher level. Keep in mind that their principal position is no tariffs at all. Regulated importation just doesn't carry a connotation of the power to tariff. And we say we've got historical sources going back to Gibbons against Ogden that say the opposite. But more fundamentally, everyone knew that at the time IEPA was enacted that regulated importation had just very visibly and very prominently been upheld to include a sweeping global tariff.
Thank you.
Mr. Sotomayor?
I'd like to go back to Justice Barrett's question on the word license as used in IEPA. It's not used as a verb, it's used as a noun. By the president may, under such regulations as he may prescribe, by means of instructions, licenses, or otherwise, then do what the verbs permit him to do. By license, he can nullify, void, prevent, or prohibit any acquisition, etc. So license is not being used as a verb that through licensing he can raise revenue. He can only use licenses to accomplish the verbs. So I don't understand how we can treat licensing as equivalent to revenue raising. As used in IEPA, the license is only to accomplish what B permits.
In Hamilton against Dillon, licenses, once you had the license, then you had to pay the fees.
But that's the point I'm making, which is that the only use of license here is a noun. You can license to accomplish the powers that B gives the president.
Let me be clear. We rely on the phrase regulate importation. We're not saying that.
Exactly. You're not relying on licenses for that reason.
No, I only cite that language, that introductory language about, instruments, licenses,
That
or
you
otherwise,
can't rely on
as
revenue.
another layer of breadth in this particular
Counsel, would you listen to my question? You're not relying on license for the reason I just said, because it is a noun, not the verb. You're relying on regulate, correct?
Yes, we're relying on regulate importation.
And despite the fact that no other president in the history of AEPA has ever used tariffs as a power under AEPA.
Well, President Nixon did so
under a predecessor, and we have all the limitations of that. All right. Number two, whenever Congress intends to permit taxing and regulate, it uses the word tax and regulate in every other statute, correct?
I don't concede that. I mean, two very visible examples, again, are TWIA and Section 122.
We're back to the question here. Okay. Thank you, Counsel.
Justice Sotomayor?
No, she's Justice Sotomayor. She just finished.
Justice Kagan?
General
And
Sapp.
they're friends?
I want to take you back to Justice Thomas's question about non-delegation. And if I understood your answer correctly, it was really similar to the answer that you started off with when you talked with Justice Thomas about the major questions doctrine, which is sort of everything's different because the president has independent constitutional powers in this area. And so that if one does not think that with respect to tariffs, if one thinks that a tariff is a taxing power, is a regulation of foreign commerce that is really delegated by the Constitution to Congress, that argument does not sound so well. And in fact, when you look at J.W. Hampton, which gives rise to the non-delegation test that we usually use, J.W. Hampton is a tariffs case. And the court did not say, oh, we need some special new principle here, some stricter rule because we're dealing with tariffs in which presidents are directly concerned as a matter of foreign relations. It enunciated the test we use for all non-delegations. So how does that fit with your theory?
8 years later, in Curtis Wright, the court held the non-delegation doctrine for domestic affairs does not apply with the same force as it does in
But
foreign
not with
affairs.
respect to tariffs, not with respect to quintessential taxing powers, which are given by the Constitution to Congress.
I think justices of this court have recognized in their opinions that one of the reasons that the non-delegation doctrine, that intelligible principle test hasn't packed as much punch as Justice Kavanaugh said in one of his opinions as it might otherwise have done, is it did arise in the foreign affairs context, because there the court has historically been very, very comfortable with very broad delegations. Chicago and Southern Airlines, another case from the 1930s, shortly after J.W. Hampton talked about the very large delegations of the foreign commerce power being very effective. And of course, this goes back to the very dawn of the Republic in 1790, for example. Congress conferred on President Washington basically the entire Indian commerce power. It said, go, get licenses, right, to do commerce with the Indians, and they'll be subject to whatever rules and regulations President Washington can make. So I do think there's a profound consistency between the announcement of the intelligible principle test in J.W. Hampton and then the subsequent recognition by this court in Curtis Wright that The non-delegation doctrine doesn't apply with the same force in this context.
In Consumers Research just last year, we had a tax before us, and the question was this a delegation issue? It was, of course, a much smaller tax, which dealt with many fewer taxpayers. Notwithstanding that, we said if there's no ceiling on this tax, we sort of assumed that if there were no ceiling on this tax, it would raise a delegation problem. And most of the opinion was given over to showing that there, in fact, was a ceiling on the tax, not a quantitative one, but a qualitative one. But how does your argument fit with the idea that a tax with no ceiling, a tax that can be anything, that here the president wants, there an agency wants, would raise a
Well, I don't know. John Sauer's vocal cords are the least of his problems. He doesn't have an argument, and it is nakedly obvious that Trump just basically wants to be able to use tariffs as kind of like a whip. And you know, again, the goal of getting countries to fall in line and do, you know, what the United States wants them to do. I don't have a problem with the goal. It's the method. Okay. In declaring an emergency is the wrong way to do it. It is not mighty white. It is the wrong thing to do. And give Trump some credit for trying to do something novel. It's just not going to work. And even even Clarence Thomas is a little, you know, even Clarence Thomas is thinking this is a bit sketchy. Yeah, you know, if you're just going to make shit up, dude, you can just make shit up to do anything. It's a slippery slope. So anyway, you know what? I am getting tired, and I knew this Supreme Court decision was going to not be the most popular thing. And Con Connery, I have to give you a salute. You are interested in stuff like this, and what can I say? But we are kindred spirits. But you know, it is getting late, and my voice is not holding up, and I'm tempted. Could just be I come back in the morning, because what I wanted to do is get through John Sauer's part of it, and then we listen to, you know, the opposition. And I'm still going to do it. Just not tonight. And I apologize, but you know, this is this voice is not working, and having to yell at I don't know what the fuck JB Smooth. I don't even know what his bag is, but apparently he's going to be, JB Smooth is going to be over on John Galt's tonight at 9:30 or so. Now, the problem is JB couldn't figure out how to do the actual link, but pretty much everyone knows where Galt's channel is. I hope to get some sleep. Guess I'm not feeling that great, but who knows? I might tune in, but this is my message to many of you. American Man is actually right, and he's been right all along, and I've been kind of kicking and screaming. And American Man isn't the only one who's been kind of just going, Stanley, why are you following up on this mess? And you know, after last night, you know, there is no winning against a motherfucking bottom feeder like John Galt. What they wind up doing is pulling you down into the tar pit where they grew up. And I have no need to do it. I want to win. I want scorched earth and all that stuff. But It's just not going to happen. Um, John Galt gets to win the race to the bottom. So salute to John Galt. He's not blocked on my channel, my chat. He can come up anytime he wants. And if he has a question about why Stanley Cross does something, he knows where to find me. And it's not on a panel with retards like Latino for Trump or Questions to Ponder. They're not bright enough to even fathom what's going on here. Again, ask Stanley a question. You can do a post. You can put a comment into one of the show replays. There are ways to contact me, even on YouTube. So if John Galt wants to ask a stupid question about what do you think Stanley's doing something, well, motherfucker, how about ask Stanley? So with that, I am not a Questions to Ponder fan, Con. I literally think she is a pick-me, and lowering herself to that ghetto bullshit that John Galt thinks is the truth about Black America. John Galt has no motherfucking clue what Black America is about. He grew up in the hood, and I'm sorry he had some hard knocks. Glad he overcame them. But motherfucker, I didn't grow up that way, and I'm not going to give you sympathy. Why would I? We all grew up the way we are. So with that, Republic Tea Room, I don't have a problem against her, except I haven't seen her in months. She has gone over to the John Galt fucking ghetto warrior side. They're all racists. John Galt is a virulent racist, and I'm not shy about telling him that. That's one of John Galt's problems with me. He's a racist. So let me get on out of here. Con, Slick Rick, Richard, the gang, Brian, all y'all. Go and watch John's show tonight and cheer for JB. And who knows, I might tune in. If not, we'll talk about it tomorrow. So see y'all later. Have a good night.